All right, Talking with a Dad family, we got a special guest lined up for you this evening. He's been a Twitch streamer for over 3 years. He's been a Taekwondo master for most of his life, and he was a qualifier for the Junior Olympics team. But most importantly, he just joined the elite team of fatherhood. Help me welcome KingKasch.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 43 of the Talking with a Dad podcast. As Steve cuts me off yet again. This is a staple. This is a tentpole topic in this podcast here this evening. Of course, the intro rolled before, but we have our good friend here, KingKasch. Welcome, my friend.
What up, boys?
Welcome. Cash is a good friend of the show, a good friend in person as well. And, Steve had a very nice intro to say. Talked about his rampant Pornhub usage and how he likes to, chase children around in the street.
Premium Pornhub usage.
Oh, right. Premium. Sorry. He's a subscriber for $39.99 a month.
Well, that was an exact number. Did you call
He knows. Don't let him fool you, Steve. He knows.
Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is blatant.
Put the kids to sleep tonight, kids. We got KingKasch on here. It's definitely going to be rated R for the duration of the evening.
Absolutely.
I can't be held accountable for what comes out of my mouth.
I want to get back to this premium hub membership. So I had seen a funny meme once where a guy was actually putting his credit card in for the premium thing, and then right next to him, his buddy is just getting a free thing with ad blocker. From YouTube's experience, is that a true meme there, or why don't you guys lay it out? What is it like being premium hub members? Come on, just tell us
Steve,
all.
I don't watch porn, dog.
Me neither.
This interview's over. I will not deal with two Trumps in one.
Two Trumps.
No, I honestly, I've never, and this is 100% honest, I've never paid for any porn service ever, Pornhub, whatever else. I've never even bought videos or HBO or any of that shit.
You're destroying the industry, Pat.
All right, so I do have experience with this, and only one reason why is during the beginning of the quarantine, they had done this thing where you could sign up for a free premium account.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay.
Right. I didn't pay.
Very specific again. What's going on?
Bro, I linked it to a fake email.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm good, dog.
There you go. You have a burner email account for all sort of this stuff. Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Exactly. You have to have a burner email account. Absolutely.
See, I'm on the other side of the hill of this thing. Like, I could never get away with having that much time. Porn takes up a lot of people's time. I got 3 kids running around, man. Takes me
about 35 seconds, Steve.
There you
go. 35 on a good day.
To open the browser.
It depends. Some days it's 12 seconds to open the browser, and we gotta
10 seconds to pick a video. You
gotta get moving.
So I want to ask you two guys a question. Two guys that I respect. I think probably two of the guys I've gotten closest with since I came back from California. I'm gonna ask you a question that Zach asks me all the time. What are you playing right now, Cash? What games are you playing?
Right now, Tarkov. That's staple in my rotation. No matter what, I'm playing that.
Okay.
Been dabbling with some GTA role playing.
Okay.
Off stream right now. Trying to get I tried it out a little bit for a little bit while streaming, but I didn't quite feel like my character development was there. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of that, on some no-name RP servers, just kind of trying to get my bearing about me.
Okay.
Man, that's, I think, it right now.
Well, now, what could possibly be keeping you from playing games, Pat? Has something changed in your life? Before, when I first met you, man, you were just like, Steve, this is what I do. My wife makes me steak. I play video games. I come and I boss you guys around at the school in that order.
I live the dream, Steve. You know what I'm saying? I live the dream, dog.
So what changed? Was it did you find religion or Scientology or something like that?
I had my first baby boy. My first baby.
All right. Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's life-changing, man. I try to talk to people about it. Even today I was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and people tell you all the time how much it changes your perspective on life, and how it kind of gives you a different mindset, especially with selflessness and stuff like that. And when I was younger, I was like, yeah, all right, that's what everybody says, kind of deal, until I had a kid, and now everything I do is in his name. You know what I mean? It's all about making sure I don't care about myself anymore. It's like, you know, I wasn't a selfish person to begin with, but any kind of selfishness I did have is completely gone at this point. You know, everything that I do is like, I want to make sure he's in a better position than I ever was, and whatever he wants to do, man, it's just full support, full love, full positivity, and, you know, just being there as a dad.
That's right, man. I could definitely relate to that. It's, the first one changes you profoundly. The second one breaks you deeply. And then the third one just puts the nail in the coffin. So I'll be meeting you on the other side with the dead look in the eyes. But that's a beautiful thing, man. He's what, like how many months now? 4 or 5?
Almost 4 months, yeah.
Wow.
So he's like just starting to get like a little bit of his personality and being able to laugh a little bit, and like, you know, you could tell he like recognizes me now when he sees me after work. Like, you know, he always smiles at me, like those kind of things. And even that changes your perspective, you know what I mean? Like the things that matter to you don't matter anymore, you know, like a bunch of social media on my phone I've deleted. I don't really play with my phone like that anymore. Like I just, like when I'm home, man, before I get into like my other thing that I do besides my actual career, like that's all time for him, man. I don't want to be distracted by really nothing, you know. I just want to be with him.
That's beautiful, man. You just made me look really, really bad right
now. It's new, bro. It's new for me. It's still new. It's only 4 months. You know what I'm saying? Like,
still has the fresh baby smell.
I'm sure it'll change.
Zach, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and edit that up. Chop it to the point where it's like we want to get deep Fox News on that. And make it all right. So
let's go around the horn. Let's go around the horn. Steve, what have you been playing? What have you been playing recently?
So, listen. I play one game and one game only now, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that game is amazing. All right, so I'm too old for the shooters, right? I can say that openly now. My reflex time isn't good. I can't. I'm not hanging with people in lobbies and stuff like that, but I can definitely win in some melee games, right? I can take down an entire room of enemies that's OP over me, no problem. And I love that type of stuff. And I'm just leveling my character up. Dude, I was so deep into it that my son was cheering me on right next to me. He's like, "Go, Dad, go!" He's like,
where the hell did you come from?
I got 1 hit point of energy left, and there's like 8 of them, and I'm just like, "I'm gonna do it." And he's like, "Do it." I died, and then we went to bed. That's all I play now. I mean, actually, the other night I did catch a game of some competitive Street Fighter just to see how I would stack up with some guys and see if I can get back some of the XP points I lost. And I went on a 12 and 15 runs. I won 12 games, lost 3 of them. As soon as the ranked players jumped in, that was pretty much it for me. Like I beat everyone beneath me, and then I got served by ranked players. And one of the guys was actually one of the dudes in the documentary that I sent you, and I was like, I forget his name. I don't want to shout his name. That's a bold-faced lie. I don't forget his name, but I don't want to shout out who I lost to. And when he came in, I think you guys have both experienced this before playing shooters. Like I saw his name in the queue, and I was like, "Oh, that's him." I'm like, that's his real handle. And then when they locked us in, I was like, "I got him." Smoke me.
We've been on both sides of that. Zach and I we would ruin people's nights in Call of Duty for, I mean, weeks on end. We just emptied lobbies. Kids would see our name and they would just leave. They wouldn't even play.
I had a kid who added me in BattleNet that when we logged on, still to this day, I still have him on my friends list. When we would log on and launch Black Ops, he would just play a different game. He would leave Black Ops 4. He would just leave. Because we were so prolifically beating people. Like there was a 3 or 4 week stretch that we didn't lose a game.
There was in that there was a stretch of like I want to say 2.5, 3 weeks where we didn't drop a map.
Yeah,
like you couldn't beat us. We swept everybody, bro. I mean, just complete and utter domination. And like anyone who wants to call me out on that, you check the VODs on Twitch, bro.
Dude, I have them up still. I have clips, man. I still have clips posted where we would get so bored that I would start using a sniper. And a sniper doesn't belong in my hands. You know, there's different people in our group that a sniper way better in. And I'm just hosing kids with the sniper.
We just got too good. We didn't even have to communicate. Like we'd play objective-based games, and everybody just did what they did.
You guys were running with Shane right when I first met you guys at the school, right?
Yeah,
it was us, Reg, and Arx. Yeah, and the 5 of us were on every night. You know, and almost all of us were. You know, well, 3 of us were streaming at the time. Yeah, and it was just like one of those things that like we just immediately like clicked. play styles, like I would always play the objective. Everybody else would just run around and murder people. You know what I mean?
Well,
And, like,
Shane would play
we
objective too, though. Shane would play objective too.
You know, people would mix in and out where I would constantly just rush the objective, just keep pushing the game. And these guys were just in the other spawn, like just ruining people where they couldn't even get out.
Hold on really quickly.
There's games that could give 100 kills.
What does that mean for the uninitiated? Run the
so
objective?
in Call of Duty, specifically the game that we're playing, Safeguard, when you die, you respawn, right? You come back into the game and you spawn in specific points of the map, right? So specifically firing range. If we're on Seaside, you're spawning in showers where we were standing. So we would just stand in like certain spots. And basically what we would do is you would form a diagonal line across the map. And once you were on that line, you saw them as soon as they spawned. And as soon as they spawned, there was someone with a gun in their face.
There were games that would last 6-7 minutes. Zach would have 100 kills.
Yeah.
Like, no joke. Like, Steve, it was bad, bro.
There were games that
I would
lasted.
feel bad nights. I'd be like, are we like bad guys for doing this shit to people?
Oh, remember I linked that clip
Yeah,
of
bro,
like the
it's like-
British TV show?
People have a rough day at school or work. They're like, oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to cut back, play some Call of Duty, and then get into a lobby with us fucking animals. And we just fucking ruin their night, bro. Go play Madden or something, bro. Get that shit the fuck out of here.
Dude, there were games where, like, I vividly, distinctly remember that there would be 3 of us that had more than 100 kills. You know,
Yeah,
there were
time.
games that me, Cash, and Arcs had 100 kills. There were games that me, Reggie, and Shane had 100 kills, right?
Bro.
It's just cycling in 3 people that we had we had 100 kills apiece in the same game.
I'll put it this way. There was a game I vividly remember. I had 63 kills.
What?
All right, hold on. I had 63 kills and 11 deaths. So I had a 6 KD.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? I was at the bottom of our fucking team, Steve. I swear to God.
What's crazy too?
I swear on everything. I was at the bottom of the team, bro.
Here's at the
And
bottom.
I'm like, what the fuck were these guys doing? Zach, 120 something kills, 11 deaths, bro. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Bro, is that bad?
He was at the
When I'm
bottom of the
worst, I'm like,
leaderboard
come on, bro.
and had all of the objective points too. It
Yeah,
still had all the objective points.
And that game was just, I felt bad after that. I was like, that's crazy.
I felt bad a lot of those
Nobody
games, man.
deserves that.
We
Nobody
had
deserves that.
we had big plans coming into this Call of Duty, right? And this wasn't one of the topics that I had, but I was thinking about this today. Is we had big plans coming into this Call of Duty. We were going to try to play competitive in some facet, and this game was just so bad from the start that it like we literally none of us like rarely
None of us put a lot of time in it.
and
None of us did.
the 5 of us haven't played games together since.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So just really quickly, it's interesting that you bring that up because I was going to lead into that later on. But I remember, so when you guys were getting pumped about the latest Call of Duty, Zach, you were already after the beta on PlayStation. I could hear it in your voice. You were
Done.
like, "Meh, I'm not
Done.
feeling this game."
He wasn't
Yeah.
feeling it at all.
Right,
Yes, you
super
kinda
early
hung
on.
in there for a little bit.
I
You
did.
like-
Yeah. I'm a bit more optimistic, I would say, than Zach is most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Man, so that's true, but with Call of Duty, man, I know what I like and I know what I
Yeah.
don't.
There
What
was
was the what broke the camel's back for you, Cash?
once, so Zach completely agrees with me on this. I know being able to mount in that game is not a feature that is good for that game. And not for Call of Duty. It's good for
Battlefield.
Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield, right? Like
Even Tarkov.
I could take it in Tarkov or
Yeah.
PUBG. It would make more sense to me. But the gameplay style of COD is supposed to be more fast-paced, moving around. And the issue was it wasn't just mounting; it was broken. Your gun wouldn't recoil.
Mhm.
So like you would just straight laser people, and like it's one thing if there's recoil, or there's one thing if more of your body stuck out, but like it's literally just your head, and people would be able to do that with ARs, and they would 2-tap you. So what are you gonna do about that? You know, like it was just some stuff, especially in the beginning, was so broken, and they didn't even try to fix it. Not even like an attempt to fix it. No patch notes, community bitching up and down, and all they did, they were like, "We're gonna put out a BR."
Yeah.
And that was literally it.
it's still to
Multiplayer
this day
died
the
after that.
same
Multiplayer is
thing.
dead. You couldn't get a lobby now if you tried.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Right. So everyone just basically jumped ship to
Oh, yeah. You still have the big try hard multiplayer kids that are like, you know, they want to be COD pros or whatever,
Mhm.
and that's all they run. But like, bro, those lobbies aren't what they should be. That's for damn sure. Like for what the game looked like and all the hype, and you know, giving guys like we'll just say very popular streamers, especially in the shooter realm, all got early access. They did this huge team stream and all this crazy shit. And then for the game to just kind of bust like this, and it was everybody. All the big streamers got off that multiplayer pretty quick. A couple weeks in, they were gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah, I think Doc was the only one that stuck it out for quite. So he left.
But he went to
back
Warzone though.
Yeah.
He went to
but
everyone went to Warzone.
You know how low he was at that time? He was playing multiplayer when he got frustrated. The man went to go play Fortnite, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And like all he would do is shit on that game. But like he was that out of options where he was like, I gotta play something else. I can't play this. No one else is playing it. It's like pulling teeth.
What are you playing, Zach?
World of Warcraft has been a big staple. I started a new RuneScape account, so I've been grinding that with a friend. So just pretty much that. Honestly, I haven't really played anything else. Session a little bit, obviously. I play the skateboarding game a little bit, but that's truly it. There's no shooters that inspire me right now. I'm looking forward to a few games coming out this year, or the beginning of next year, something like that. But there's really nothing that really compels me to really play other than MMOs right now.
I think the issue right now is there's so many games with just no end game. Like you play these games and then you get to a certain point or you get addicted to it because it's a great game. And then by the time you run out of stuff to do, you're like, fuck, I have nothing else to play now.
The Division was like
Perfect
that,
example.
right? Apex was like that. There was really like the beginning of Apex. I haven't played since pre-season 1 or something. Man, PUBG got to that to an extent, although I was never really good at it. There were so many games like that. Even Tarkov like that is like that right now for me.
The problem that a lot of people have, and I completely understand it, is a lot of games end up going to skill-based matchmaking, which makes the game less fun to play because if you're just trying to have a casual gaming experience, doesn't work, right? You gotta log on, and no matter what, you gotta try your ass off, or else you're just gonna get beat, right? A lot of games don't have a real ranking system. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that with when we talk about some other stuff later. But like these big games come out and there's no rank system. It's all skill-based matchmaking. There's what they do now is everything is in seasons and you got to pay.
Yep.
So every season that comes out, it's like, all right, cool. Here's season 4 of Call of Duty. Now you got to pay for, you can get the free one. But when you pay X amount of dollars, you get all this extra shit that you weren't accessible to, Every game is taking that model now for the most part. And like even Tarkov, like Zach was saying, like you get to a certain point where everybody's just running the top shit and it's not fun anymore. It's just a bunch of, then at that point, tryhards, whether there's no skill-based matchmaking, which I do enjoy about that game. But like, then that means like you might get into some games where I'm coming in and I'm going full sweat mode on these kids. These kids are level 3, level 4, trying the game out for the first time, and they're getting rocked from across the map, and they got no idea what happened to them. So like, I think there's ups and downs to a lot of it, but I think right now the video game world in general, like Final Fantasy VII remake came out. It's only a short amount of the game. It wasn't what people thought it was going to be. I think just a lot gets lost in that. I think the art of making video games isn't the same anymore. It's a lot more about money and not the quality. Like I think back to old role-playing games and stuff like that, there was just so much more detail and love, like you could tell, Yeah,
I mean, because you were talking about like, and I hate to use these terms like generational stuff. Video games, like as I was coming up when I was like you guys' age, was really like it hadn't quite become a subculture yet. It was just something you did to escape and have a good time, right? So you could play a game like Metal Gear Solid, right? There's no online community for that. It's just you isolated in a room. You're like immersed in the story. Now it's like you have to be. It almost seems like everything has to be nailed into this subculture and like this community based stuff, which can be great at the same time, but other times it's takes away from the actual enjoyment. Now you got people making a lot of money. It's become a business, and if anyone wants to sponsor us, you email Zach. We accept sponsors from anyone that's paying right now.
Yeah, literally 30 cents. We'll do a 10-second ad read for it. Whatever you need.
For me, just kind of going off of that, think back of those old Metal Gear Solid games. Like, how long did it take you to beat one of those games?
Oh man, that was
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was an
you were putting time in. Yeah, you had to put time in. Games aren't like that anymore. Like Zach was saying, Division, we were max level before the game even came out.
Literally.
So
he
like
played the Division 1 with me, and like I didn't even realize we beat the game. And the same thing happened then when we were playing Division 2. I didn't realize the game was over, and I'm like, all right, so what's where's the boss fight at? And he was like, oh, that was it.
So the point of these games, right, is the Division was supposed to be originally that MMO shooter that never happened, right? Destiny was supposed to be that too, and it's the same thing. That you get to the end, and with an MMO, and Cash knows this really well, is that there's an end game, but there is no end to the game. Right? Yeah. You get to a point and you're like, okay, well, I got to grind this mission 15 times now to get the right gear so I can then move on to this other subset of missions that are slightly harder, but they're going to take this much more time, right? You're right. Always grinding 10 times over to get to that next step of play, but there is no end to it. There is no cap to the story because they always want to be able to expand on it, and that's how they make their money.
Right. Yeah. And there's bragging rights to that too.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Like, especially something like World of Warcraft, somebody who goes walking past you and all this gear that you've never seen before, you're like, damn, like,
right.
You know, you go inspect the person and see what all the items are and the epics. And like, there's back in the day, I hate to use the word clout, but when vanilla WoW first came out, like, people knew how good you were at the game just by looking at you. They didn't have to know your name. They didn't have to inspect you. They could see gear that they never saw before. And they're like, damn, that dude's, he raids, he's doing this, he's doing that. That kind of stuff isn't, I don't think, thought about in games anymore. I think it's more like it's gotten so popular and so mass produced that the art is gone. The art's not the same. I mean, for the artist it is, but it's not what it used to be as full as like a full immersion into a game or an RPG. Like, I think back to the old Tomb Raider games and everything like that. Like games like that, they don't come around much anymore. Very rarely. And if they do, they don't really get the mainstream appeal that they probably should.
Yeah, Path of Exiles is a good example of that. Path of Exiles is a really good example because it's this super niche game, and there are very few people who are very good at Path of Exiles.
But you know them.
But you know who they are, right? And you could watch them and you learn from them. And even then, you're still watching this person do the same thing that you're doing, and it's just different, right? The person is just better than you. They're really
like League. I feel the same way about League.
Yeah.
League, there's a clear example of what a pro player looks like and how they play. Sure. Just on a decision making level, when to engage, when not to engage, you know, that kind of stuff. The talent shows out a lot more.
Sure,
but it's the same game over and over again.
Right, you're doing the same exact thing.
Right, map doesn't change. Yeah. Objectives don't change. You know all the gear in the game. You know every move in the game. It's just one, you know what I mean? Who wins their matchup? Who affects the game more?
Right. Who made that split-second decision to put a ward down on enemy red buff and you see a gank coming and you save yourself? Right. You know, who makes that decision? Right. And that's the difference between...
That's what separates a good player and a great player in that
game. Yeah. The split-second decisions that don't make sense to someone like, say, me, right? I was never a great League player. I understood the mechanics of it. But why would you put a ward over Baron wall at 13 minutes, right? No one's going for Baron. It's because you know that you know in the back of your head that jungler is coming up that way in the next minute or two, right?
Extra vision.
All the vision. It's the split-second decisions that really matter in a game like that.
It's crazy for me because I'm a big League fan as far as like watching. Like some of my favorite streamers are League of Legends players, and I'll watch it and I'll be like, damn, that was a really good play. Like, that was a smart play. I was thinking the same thing. But then when I'm playing, I can't do the shit that I watch where I'm like, oh, yeah, I would do that. Then I go to do it and I'm like, damn, I'm not anywhere near what these dudes are. This is it goes to everything. Fighting's the same way, right? There's levels, you know. There's a difference between great and generational, and you know, there's
for sure.
But, you know, you two touched on something that's really interesting because, like, I remember they were doing case studies on is there actual skill required to play games. Obviously, this is early on, right? Like, what's the difference between someone who's a master chess player and someone who's a master tactician in a game? And now we can see that there's a clear difference. Is there any game, and maybe you already touched on it, is there any game to either one of you guys that really can showcase, like, hey, this is not just luck or sheer button mashing. Like, this requires a sheer amount of skill and forethought to play this game well?
I mean, it's tough, right? Like I used to play Hearthstone, which for those who don't know, it's a card game used by like Blizzard. It's a lot of like World of Warcraft players, mobs, stuff like that. And I was ranked really high in that game. I put a lot of time into that game for a long time. But at the end of the day, you get X amount of cards to start, and then every card after that is random. So like I could just draw better than you and end up beating you. You know, so like even for me, it's like there's still almost every game still almost has like some kind of RNG feel to it. I can't really think of like a pro game outside of like Counter-Strike, you know, like, you know, something that's just pure aim and fire that works for me. But even that, being able to shoot through certain walls or different positions, I think, me personally, I think more of the difference comes from a mindset more than anything else. Like that's where it changes. But I don't think that's the game. I think it's the players make the game that I could just log in. You know what I mean? Like I could log into Counter-Strike and do certain things, but like certain players are just so innovative at what they do that they find different ways to be more effective than other people.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, Counter-Strike is that game for me, for sure. Because there is a clear-cut difference between, you know, even KingKasch and I, right? I'm not a very good Counter-Strike player, but someone who's been playing for a long time is going to know where I'm going to walk before I know where I'm going to be, right? Like there's a pattern recognition. Call of Duty is actually a really minor example of this, right? If you're playing High Rise on Modern Warfare 2, I know where you're going to be before you get there, before you know where you're going to be, because I've played the map 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times, and there are patterns, right? It's the same thing with chess, right? And video games are very comparable to chess, in my opinion, is that in chess, there are patterns of what you're going to do, and that's how people can outsmart you if they recognize the pattern that you're going for. And video games are the same way, right? League of Legends, the way that players move on the map is very similar to the way that you move pieces on a chessboard. Call of Duty, the pattern recognition, it's all very similar. But yeah, there are very good ties between chess and video games. It's all outthinking your opponent. It always is.
Yeah, I personally think the skill level, the difference is so minute at the top, right? Like I think of a guy like Shroud.
Sure.
He's world renowned now as one of the biggest streamers in the world, one of the best first person shooters, pro CS player, used to do some miracles for, you know, what is my favorite CS team. And he still wasn't the best. No. But if I got in a lobby with him, and I used to play pro games all the time. When I was in high school, I played CS. I was in the pro league, and I would get smoked by him because his game sense and his game knowledge, his strategy, his movement, everything was just so much better than so many other people. Sure. But the people that were better than him, you looked at those guys and you're like, those guys are the truth. Like they're not, they're different. You know what I mean? They're different.
Yeah, I always looked at Scream in that regard. Scream as a CS player probably has the best AK shot of maybe any CS player ever. And he's always the top player on his team, but he's always on these really shitty teams. And he would never be widely regarded better than Shroud, because Shroud was on a team that had a potential to win championships, right?
They were in the mainstream more.
And Shroud was a middle bottom player on that team, right? He was potentially even at times the worst player on that team by a significant margin, enough to where there was conversations all the time about Shroud getting dropped from that team.
The thing that saved Shroud more times than none was every time those conversations would happen, he would give you one.
He'd pop up.
You know what I mean? Like he would just go crazy.
And for an entire weekend.
They were like, where is this all the time, you know, like it's different. But then like you'll see him go pistol round and wipe a whole team out by himself in a pro tournament. Like he's playing other pros for money at LAN, on the stage, everything, and he's ruining kids. And then there's other days, other tournaments where you're like, damn, this isn't even close to the same player,
where you're like, Shroud doesn't deserve to be on this team,
which is crazy. For sure. Mentally, it's just, I think it's insane. The skill was there. There's mental differences when it comes to that.
Sure.
Would you say, Cash, that was Shroud the Dickie Simpkins of his team or the Horace Grant of his team?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I was always partial to Horace Grant. Personally, I like that attitude. I like that, you know, that kind of player mindset. But like, he was a guy that would get overshined, which was part of the reason why his retirement and benching and all that kind of came out when it did. And it wasn't just him, you know, there was talk about other players, and, you know, they made a lot of changes. But right after that, they went and won a tournament. They went and won. Wow. They went and beat FaZe, who at that time in CS, it was like the Monstars, bro. They had literally 5 of probably the top 8 players in the world at the same time.
They were looked upon as unbeatable.
They were looked upon as the guys that they were like the Golden State Warriors, or when LeBron went to Miami and he teamed up with all these other all-stars, and people were like, how are we going to beat that? They benched Shroud. They made a couple other moves, and then all of a sudden they beat them in Boston. And people were like, "Dude, they did it on U.S. soil. Like it was legendary." But they've never been able to duplicate it.
Never again. Yeah, never again. Phaser at that time was a French team, weren't they? For some reason, I don't
know if they were French or German. Whatever they were fucking nasty. And their team captain is probably the best sniper shot I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we like to do on this show, right? And Zach is actually really good at it. And he, I was listening to the Mantis interview, Zach, over again, and he's never going to be able to not unsay some of the things you got him to say when I got up and walked away for 15 minutes. Like you got him on the record saying some stuff.
I'm good at it.
But what we like to do, man, is we want to get you on the record, Cash, right? And then we want to make sure we can throw this in your face for the remainder of the time that we know you. So you can never come back from it. But I think I know where Zach stands on this one, but it's the only fight we have on this topic list. And it's amazing that we're talking about this more than the actual main event, which is a smoker. Till versus Whitaker tomorrow night. It's going to be amazing. But I want to know what you think of Gus versus Verdun. This is the real MMA fan is talking about this fight.
Yeah. I mean, I think the hardcores, you know what Fabricio Verdum did, right? I mean, like when he beat Kane, man.
Yeah, he ended a legacy.
People didn't think Kane could be beat. There was people like, dude, this guy's not going to get touched. Cardio, top level. He dealt with a lot of injuries, which at that time, that whole gym did.
Yeah,
they all went through that. But Verdum, he caught him, you know, and he went on a nice little run himself. He's had some bad luck as of late. But to me, bro, Gus, he's the third best light heavyweight of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time. And I mean, that's why I'm so intrigued, right? Because you know what Fabricio can do. But Gus going up, adding another 35 pounds, power, 3 rounds. I think 3 rounds benefits him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can come out and just start swinging and he'll be okay. I mean, he's still got to be technical, but you know how he likes to box and his boxing skill is so good that I think he can just go out there and kind of be free, see what it feels like.
Right.
But I remember hearing stories. I mean, it's Brendan Schaub, which take that for what it is. But Schaub was saying that when he was preparing for the first John fight, that he was still fighting, and Gus went to his gym.
Oh, they were all with each other in alliance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they were all at alliance, and he was saying that Gus was like breaking dudes during camp. Like they had to keep bringing people in because he was fucking smoking them out in a week. He was just breaking people. So he was like, I was positive Gus was going to be the next world champion. He's like, then John does what he did, and everyone's like, wow, what a classic. Alex is fucking savage. And then John's like, yeah, I didn't train.
Yeah.
And people were like, God damn, bro. Yeah. And then when they fought the second time, you saw it. You saw it. You know, there's as much as John fucks up, he's at a different level, man. He's on this pedestal that no one's been able to take from him yet. I think Gus, he's got the size. I honestly think he smokes Fabricio. I don't think this fight's going to be close. I think Gus is going to come out. I think it's going to be first round, maybe early second round. Gus gets him out of there.
Just catches him.
Him, just drops him, just puts too much on him. I mean, Fabricio's been hit, man. He's been hit by some big dudes, some big power shots. And I don't know how many more he could take, but Gus had hands at 205. I'm thinking that the boxing skills with the extra weight, the extra power, it's going to be a tough out.
What about you, Zach? I already know you're picking Gus. I think.
Yeah. So me and Cash share the same sentiment on this. Gus is the number 3 light heavyweight of all time. You know, if he fought in a different era, there might be an argument in the fact that he might be the most dominant champion ever, I would imagine.
I mean, honestly, think about what he would have done to a guy like, and no disrespect to Chuck Liddell, he was a legend, but like,
forget about it.
Gus would have made him look like a chump, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, it's what it is. Sorry you existed at this time where there's these 2 goats arguably ahead of you. I mean, both those guys are in that conversation. It's tough.
Here's a quick thing. Sorry, Zach. No, I actually have Gus winning that fight with Daniel Cormier. I'm on record of saying that. Like, me and my wife and I watched it, and he dropped Daniel.
I don't know. That was a close fight.
And I don't know if that got counted as an actual knockdown, but it was like, I think it was like a 3rd or 4th round. We caught Daniel with a knee when Daniel was trying to come in.
I think it was the 3rd round. Yeah.
And he absolutely dropped him, but Daniel did what he did, which is he popped back up, and so they probably robbed him of that. And I thought he actually won that fight. But wait, Zach, what were you saying? What do you think, man? You think?
No, I'm thinking Gus wins for sure, but I think it's gonna be the 3rd round. They should take first round for feeling out. He's never fought at heavyweight before, from my knowledge. He's coming back off of an 18-month layoff or something like that.
But I think that works in his advantage.
I agree. I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
And he's
Like,
had time
he
to move up to
retired,
heavyweight.
Right. Got some time with the wife and the kid on the way. And you know how it is, man. Those nagging injuries that just how long does someone get to rest when they're in that profession? That time off.
Truly.
I think he's gonna come out and he's just gonna be sharp. He didn't stop training. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Right.
A true martial artist like that at that level, they never stop.
Mm-hmm.
They never do.
So I think into the 3rd round. I think Gus wins in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Yep.
Strike. So this is the only thing I'm worried about with the whole fight, right? Even though Fabricio doesn't have like a traditional crazy double leg takedown, he's a pure jits guy, and I respect him for that. For being a pure jits guy, his striking is still laughable, but he's gotten a lot better at King's MMA. The one thing I'm worried about is if they get caught up in a clinch or a tangled up situation, he's going to go for that inside trip and he's going to drag him down by his arm. I agree that Gus is probably going to show him a different look with boxing he's never seen before. Sure. Because that's what Gus does. If you look at the people he lost to, they were that good or they were that powerful, right? So he had the unfortunate luck of kicking Anthony Johnson in the sack, which every time that's happened to Anthony Rumble Johnson in his career, he's typically come back like a monster, and then he came back and he caught him with that famous Johnson, basically almost like a standing leap and hook, put him down. With John, we know what it was. Gus basically won that fight, right? He took John deeper than anyone's ever going to take him, and the same thing with Daniel Cormier, the 2 top guys. But he's lost a little bit of steam. I think the Jones lost the build up to the Jones rematch. We can all admit that. Mm-hmm. I think he believed the hype. He was like, I can take this guy. And then the reality set in like, oh, he is that good. Yeah, he's as good as he smoked
John's
him.
Different. John's different, right? And in the fight game, it's no disrespect. I respect anybody that fights in the UFC. Like, that takes balls, bro. You and I both know, Steve, we've both fought competitively. As a hobby, whatever the case is, we've both trained, and like, what it is at that level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm friends with Shane. We're tight. We talk almost every day, and I see what this kid does. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, you got to think guys like John, DJ, Khabib, what these guys do, they're Cejudo. They're just they're the Michael Jordan. They're the LeBron. They're the 1% of the 1%.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? They are that good.
It's the same thing as basketball. So like on the court, you have guys who are good on the street. Then you have a guy who's good on the street but can play college or collegiate level. And then you have a guy who's good collegiate but can't make it to the NBA. But then you have guys who can go in and smoke NBA players. Then you got guys in the gym who are good at the gym. Right? They're the top dog in the gym, Zach. Like, these are the guys that come on the mat like, a white belt, hold my belt really quickly. But then they can never compete competitively, right? And then you have guys who train there who are real fighters, and they have the talent, and you just see that. And I honestly think Gus is a real fighter, man, and I would pay money to see him make a real run at the heavyweight championship, dude. Like, I would pay to see Gus in a situation with a Stipe. I'd pay your money, Zach. I'd steal the money out of your wallet to pay for that fight.
Man, if you think I have money in my wallet, man, you got something to find out. Hold on. I don't think I have anything. I think I had $4 in cash, and I put that shit in my car, dog.
Because it's going to be wide open in the heavyweight division now, because we know these 2 guys are retiring.
They're done.
It's coming. Like, whoever wins, and then now it's going to be I still think that John's going to do something dramatic, and they're going to explode with a Francis versus Francis for a vacated belt if they both retire. So
that's why they didn't do it, Steve. That's why they didn't do it. Everyone's talking this super fight. Oh, let's get it. Let's run it. Bro, there's no belt. Dana White knows what he's doing, man. Yeah. He knows what he's doing. How many times has he done the same thing? Look what he just did with Cejudo. Yeah. Now look at 135's on literal fire. The whole division's ready to go. You know, you got these new cats coming up at 125. We'll see what happens there. But like, heavyweight's you're gonna have Francis, and Curtis Blades. And if Dana's going to sit there and say, Curtis Blades or John, do I give the extra money to John to make this happen? 2-weight world class. At that point, you can't even argue that he's not the GOAT if he goes up to heavyweight and beats Francis. Yeah. But if Francis then, in turn, KOs John, bro, John, woo.
Dude, that will be the most memeable moment in MMA. There have been some memorable moments in knockout, but the day that John gets knocked out, like, is going to be the most reshared meme ever. And you're right. Me and Zach were talking about it. I think Zach actually said it. You can't get me to pay for Curtis Blade versus Francis Ngannou for a third time for a vacated belt.
No. I'm not doing it. And I'm a fan of Curtis Blades.
Me too.
I like him.
You know, there's a lot of people. I get it, man. There's a lot of new MMA fans out, especially with no other sports on, right? They're watching a guy like Usman last weekend, toe stomp and clinch, and it's not sexy. But
maximum effort.
But MMA ain't sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be fights like that. But if all those people were tuning in and it was Usman versus Colby, he'd be the hottest fighter in the UFC right now.
Yeah, that was such an incredible fight.
That's facts.
Yeah,
that's facts.
It's funny because we were discussing whether or not if Usman is actually a star yet, and I think he's respected amongst his peers and he's respected amongst the fans. But they've really only had two. No, actually, I guess you would count Chuck Liddell in this too. They've had 3 breakout stars, in my estimation, for the organization of UFC. Like, it's been Chuck Liddell. He transitioned over. For his time, he was the biggest thing. Randy Couture was huge, but Chuck Liddell was just on another level.
Bro, people were walking around with that crazy ass mohawk that was ugly.
With their fingernails painted. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna tell the guy with a pink toenail he's not tough? I don't know what this guy can do. I'm just saying it. And then you got Ronda Rousey, obviously. Like, we all know what her. You can try to take it from her. We all lied to ourselves a little bit about Ronda and how good she was, but she was a dominant champion for a time. And then obviously you got Conor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have not seen anything like that in MMA ever. Where
I think Izzy might be next.
Man,
I hope not, man.
I like Izzy.
I think it's Izzy or it's Sean O'Malley.
See, I don't think it's Sean O'Malley. I think it's Khabib. I think Khabib is. If Khabib fights 5 more times, Khabib will be the biggest thing on the planet.
He won't.
You don't think he can make that commercial cut jump over?
Oh, he was ready to be done already.
KaschS doesn't think he fights anymore. The thing Khabib is that Khabib is so fucking big. Khabib is the biggest star in Russia right now. Right? It's one more dominant victory over, let's say, Gaethje, right? Because that's where it goes next.
Dangerous fight, bro.
I agree. I don't know.
I'm not saying you, but I'm saying there's a lot of people that think Gaethje ain't. He walked. Khabib walked.
I'm sold.
Gaethje ain't anything, bro. Gaethje's a bad dude.
I'm 1,000% on board with you there. I think Gaethje has all of what it takes to beat Khabib. Now, whether he does it when he gets in the octagon with him, that's a different story. I thought Poirier had what it take to beat Khabib too.
I think out of everyone so far that Khabib's fought, this guy has the most tools in the toolbox to get the job done. Right? Sure. Incredible cardio.
Good scrambles.
Best wrestler Khabib's ever gonna face at 155. You know what I mean? Nobody until maybe Islam and those guys end up coming up, but they're not gonna fight Khabib. He'll be gone before then.
Right.
This is the best, and not to mention, he's probably the hardest hitting. I know there's a lot of Conor fans that probably don't want to hear it, but Gaethje's probably the hardest hitting 155 on the roster right now. Both hands, both legs, throws the knees. He goes, and it's gonna be. That's a fight. Everybody wanted Tony and Khabib, and it sucks that we will probably never get it.
Nope.
But
no, it doesn't, because I know the rest of you people were sold on Khabib, Ferguson beating Khabib. I knew what was going to happen.
Well, I thought with that, I just thought Tony was going to be on his back, land a couple elbows. They were going to be in Brooklyn, and a New York judge was going to stop it. Right? That's what I kept telling people. I was like, this is going to be.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Some silly cut, Yeah. But I think Gaethje's the hardest fight. He's the hardest fight for Khabib right now. But Poirier is on his way back, and Poirier looked real good against Dan Hooker.
Yeah, Poirier is the only person who's ever had Khabib in a semi-dangerous
He
situation,
almost
right?
finished that choke.
When he had that
choke.
guillotine, I think if he pulled him back into guard and kept that guillotine, he might have been able to put Khabib out.
That choke was tight.
If Khabib wasn't able to roll to his back, there was a chance that Khabib was going under.
Yeah,
right.
That was a tight choke. There was a lot of people saying like, oh no,
that was tight.
It was ended. It was ended.
Anyone else in that division, they were going out. They were going after
out.
that for sure. And then obviously Khabib did what he did, but.
You know what the crazy thing is though, is that Dustin is fighting guys. Khabib kind of makes you realize how good the guys that he beat are. Like, so you watch Dustin run that fight back against Hooker, right? That was an amazing fight. But as I'm watching Dustin Poirier, this is a kid I watched. I gotta get you this documentary, Zach. I keep telling him to get it. He was in something called Fightville, and you get to see his early career in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, wherever he's from. And even then, he was an exceptional athlete, and just seeing how he stood out amongst his gym. But watching his career, so many people have counted him out over and over. And then when I see him lose to Khabib, it's kind of like, well, you knew that was going to happen, right? But you're right. He had that choke in. If Khabib wasn't who he is and wasn't able to take that type of pain, because when I put the torque on the neck on there, most dudes would have tapped from that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, my thought is that if Khabib has 3 more super high profile fights, he's the biggest star the UFC's ever had. He has the potential.
I personally think it's Gaethje, it's GSP, and he's gone.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree 100%. You're right. He has 2 fights left.
The only way he takes a fight after Gaethje is GSP. What else does he have to prove?
What do you guys think? Both of you. I think Kamaru Usman is a horrible fight for his legacy. Like, if you want a train of success to come to an end, put him against Kamaru Usman, and it's like, and that train.
This is I texted Steve after Kamaru's last fight, and I said the only thing I said was Khabib beats Usman.
So, I completely disagree. I think Usman beats the fucking brakes off of Khabib.
He's just a brick house. Sadness.
There is something about that dude, and like I said, it's not always sexy. That fight, like I know what people were expecting with Masvidal. That's a Kamaru Usman fight, bro. That's what he does to people. Like him and Colby, that was a cute one-off because they're both unreal wrestlers, unreal cardio, and they just stood in the middle and they just banged, right?
Yeah.
Usman's a real champion. He's got a champion mindset with a champion coaching staff, and they're not going to play those games with people that are clearly better strikers than him. Masvidal is one of the best boxers on the roster, any weight class.
And you saw that in the brief stand-up interaction. Interaction. Kamaru Usman was like, "I don't like this."
Exactly.
Throwing the feet, I think it's just one of those things that Usman's going to always be one of those guys that's just underappreciated. He's going to hold that belt for a while. People are going to find him boring, but from a competitive standpoint, it's going to be tough to beat that guy.
That out of his hand.
He is going to be a tough out, man.
I think Gilbert Burns. Did I say the brother's name right?
That's
the most. I have a bad history of like just not seeing these guys' names right, but I think
never. I correct him every 30 seconds.
But I think he is the most dangerous matchup for Kamaru Usman. But when it comes to like Khabib versus Usman, like I've said this, I'm on record of saying it. I don't care if they beat me up if they see me in the street. I'm not buying any of that AKA nonsense about Khabib holding down Daniel Cormier. I've never believed any of that. And I think the reality is if he gets in there with another wrestler who's able to outstrength him. Now, I think Khabib might be
better hands too.
And better hands. I think Khabib might have the better scrambles and transitions. But I'm telling you, someone's going to figure out at some point when he's on top of them, they're going to go, "Oh, I'm not going to scooch up to the cage. I'm not going to do that because I know."
Yeah, if you keep it in the center, Khabib has nothing.
Yeah.
Gaethje said, "I'm going to come out. I'm going to blast his legs a bunch of times and stay away from the cage." He goes, "If he tries to take me down in the middle of the octagon, I'm not going down."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not." He's like, "My wrestling's too good." He's like, "The only way he'll be able to take me down is if he gets me up against the fence, gets his hands underneath my butt, and takes my legs out from under me." He's like, "That's the only way I go down in this fight."
Man, everyone says that though, right? Everyone says that leading up to the fight, and everyone has a plan until they meet Khabib in the octagon, right? That's my thought with Usman though. Khabib is a natural 170. Let's be Yeah,
It's
man.
a little different. One's, cashmere, and the other one, I get it. But Usman, I'm telling you, man, that
Dude,
boy is sick.
I ride the
he's a
Usman hype
monster.
train. I really do. But I feel like if you get Khabib at his natural weight class, there might be something different there. And we've never seen him at 70.
If that fight happens, I'll be watching.
Oh,
You know what I'm
dude,
saying?
me
Like,
too.
I'm ready for that.
I'll pay for it
because
with Steve's money.
Yeah.
Fucking
COVID will not stop me from having people over. It'll be the last time.
that's
fair.
one of those fights that just, they say styles make fights, right? Those are two guys cut from a similar cloth.
Yeah.
You're gonna go out. The thing that I think, dude, when you look at Khabib, and it's nothing against the guy's stature, but then you see what Usman looks like, you're like, there's got to be a power difference there. Usman is a.
But see, that's the thing. That's why I hate Kevin Lee. And you're going to ask me, what's the connection here? Kevin Lee ruined my chance to see the one guy, the specialist I knew who could out-scramble Khabib. He took that away from me. My boy, what's his name? Gregor Gillespie?
Yeah.
Like, I was
Gregor
convinced.
Gillespie.
Me and Joe Rogan, so I'm in good company. They're like, this guy is going to give Khabib trouble. And the next thing I know, he gets smoked
Head kicked.
by Kevin Lee, by the most emotional guy in all of UFC. And it's like, but I honestly think that, like, it's going to be a boxer that smokes him in the middle, or it's going to be a wrestler that goes, you're not pulling that
If it's
low
not
level.
Gaethje, my only other pick at 155 is Charles Oliveira.
You know what? If you'd have said that before, I'd have been like, hang up on him now. But this Charles Oliveira that's fighting now.
We had a conversation about Charles Oliveira over a game of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
It is up on the channel. You could find it. And we had like a 25-minute conversation of what the hell happened to Charles Oliveira, because the last time he came out, he looked incredible.
I don't know what happened, but his striking looks way different. It is so much more polished. It's more technical. It's more efficient. You can tell he's not throwing bombs. Everything is just, it's tight. It's precise. But that whole division, man, we're talking about Poirier's fight against Hooker. He landed 70% of his strikes. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's insane percentage for a fight that goes a full 5 rounds.
Yeah, that's because the investment that these guys are paying with their body and their times, becoming real athletes. Like, if you look at where MMA started, right? Like, literally where it started to where it's at now, to watch a guy like Dustin Poirier, who most boxers would laugh at his form, but this guy's in there, man, and he threw such short, precise hooks to get Dan Hooker off of him that, like, I literally grabbed Santana. I was like, that was amazing. Like, I've been watching MMA since the Haymaker day, where guys would literally close their eyes, Zach, and throw.
And just throw.
Mm-hmm.
Reckless abandon.
And it's just like the worst thing. But now to see these guys like just killing it like this, the thing is about it is, like, the thing that I know is going to happen to Khabib, and I said it before, his defeat, if he doesn't leave on top, is going to look as bad as Ronda Rousey's, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. His striking hasn't gotten any better.
Not at all.
Let's
Not
be
at
real.
all.
No, I agree.
Maybe he's got a better uppercut in the clinch, like he'll grab your head and get an uppercut, but
That ain't enough.
no, it's
That's
not
not
enough to
enough.
stay on top. But his wrestling is enough, man. And I'm just hoping that, back to Gus and Verdum, here's what I'm hoping doesn't happen in this fight, right? I'm hoping that Gus with a strong mindset shows up, not Gus that was winning the fight against Anthony Rumble Johnson, and then in a poor transition gave up an arm or doesn't do what he needs to do. And that, you can't do that with someone like Verdum. Like, you have to be willing to be in. Yeah, you got to be in there all 15 minutes of the fight, and I'm just hoping that's what he does, man. I got nothing else to say. You're both wrong. Khabib is a bum. John Jones is a goat.
Yeah, we got to transition off of fighting here. We've been on this, and this is notoriously our lowest viewed topic. This is our lowest viewed topic by a wide margin. They'd rather us talk about feminism and why it's great than talk about fucking fighting. But
What did you just say?
I swear, dude, I swear we'd get better views out of worshiping feminism than we do out of the UFC and just fighting in general. So Cash, we have some questions here for you, buddy. How did you start streaming? What like, you're a good streamer, right? I give you that, right? When I tune into your stream, I enjoy myself generally. There's people that, that we know that I tune in, and I'm there because I'm a friend. I don't enjoy the guy, but I watch your content, right? And what started you on this path of streaming.
So one, I appreciate that. Because I'll be honest with you, like, you don't always hear that from people, right? Like,
Sure,
a lot of
yeah.
and I'm sure it's the same with the podcast, right? You make
Yeah.
content in hopes that it resonates with somebody. But not everybody's not always vocal about that. You know, you get people that come to your Twitch channel and they sub and they hang out and whatever. That's cool. But not everybody goes like, hey man, you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, there's a difference. For me, man, it was one of these things that, like, I was working a job where I was working 70, 75 hours a week. I was making a lot of money doing what I was doing and having fun, and I was in a secure position. But I'd met my now wife. We started dating. We were together for a while. It got to a point where it was like, hey man, I need to settle down with this girl and make something here. And I can't allow my job to continue to get in the way of that, right? So meet her, we're talking. I end up playing some video games with some friends. Their friends get invited. A couple of my mods now, shout out to Dean. My buddy Dean one day was like, dude, you need to broadcast yourself.
Okay.
And I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't know Twitch was a thing at this point. This is like probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, oh, dude, you've never been to like Twitch? And I was like, no, what is that? So I get on it. I watch. I find a few favorites, some popular people. I like their content and stuff. Ultimately, I ended up leaving that job, went to my current space, did what I did to get to promoted and where I'm at now. But at the time, it was one of those things where it was like, well, I'm losing money, right? So how do I make more money? You have to, do I get a second job? That defeats the purpose. I'm leaving the old job because of the more hours. What about passion? Right. And Steve can probably attest to this too, being a little bit older like I am now, married, everything like that. At some point in your life, you have to make a decision about passion, right? You get one life, man. And it's crazy to think nothing's guaranteed. I could be gone tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. And it's just one of those things that it's like, well, what am I passionate about? Well, I'm passionate about video games. I'm passionate about talking to people, socially, connecting with people and trying to make people better people, and I think that's something that kind of gets lost in a lot of what happens or what people see with streaming, because they see the money and they see the clout and the glam and the Instagram and the Twitter and all that stuff. I don't do it for any of that. None of that matters to me. I've made some of my best friends on that platform, but I started because somebody was just like, hey man, like, you're pretty good at games. Not every game, I'm never the best, right? Like, when I play with my friends, I'm never the best player. I'm good. I would say I'm above average at most games that I play, but I can hold a conversation. I can talk a lot of shit. I can be entertaining. And that's the part of it that connects for me. And then when I started meeting people that weren't my friends in real life, I was like, damn, like, this is something that, like, I could really use to make a bigger impact towards what I want. And that's kind of where it started. And now I'm, just past my 3rd year of streaming, and I've found some pretty good success. We're still growing, we're still building on things, but it's a process, right? I can't put the same time in that some of these other people do. I know people, they're full-time streamers. They're not making a lot of money, but they're streaming 8, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. I don't have time for that. So I have to try to be as smart as possible to try to get as much growth with the limited amount of time that I do have to give to it.
Fair. Absolutely fair. Cash, you were my second longest person I've been sub to at 22 months. I have one person slightly longer than you by 20 more months on top of it.
Almost 2 years.
Just too casual. A good friend actually from long ago. We should get him on the podcast. I don't think he'll come on though. He's way bigger than us. But I actually thoroughly enjoy your content. I do. I tune in a lot. I chat like 80% of the time that I'm in there. I always try to say something. Engagement's huge for Twitch.
100%.
Man, it's always hard to transition from topic to topic because like we could talk about streaming forever, right? Because a lot of things that you say in being able to play games and you're pretty good, you're not the best, and you're able to hold a conversation is the same reason I've been trying to make content for 10 years, right? Is I've always thought the same thing about myself, and It's because at one point you get addicted to a game and you become so good at it and you become so fluent with playing it, right? Like, and Steve's seen that, and where I can hold a full conversation while doing something difficult in a game because I know what it's muscle memory, right? What was that first game for you? What was that first game that hooked you in and you got like addicted to a point where it was almost probably bad for your health?
Playing it or streaming it?
Let's do both. Playing and then streaming.
So streaming it was PUBG, right? So
okay.
BRs were just starting to pop. I had just gotten into streaming, and I was pretty good at the game. I would hit sniper shots that were like deep or unheard of, like crazy flicks. People would be running past the tree line. I wouldn't be able to see them. I'd shoot at the tree. I'd kill them. I got clips on my Instagram of me doing stuff like that. So I was getting addicted to it because I was getting clicks. People were coming to the Instagram because I'm tagging it, and they're like, "Oh, that was a dope shot," or this and that. My viewership's going up. I had the most subs I ever had on my channel while I was playing, for probably the first like year and a half, 2 years of me streaming. Recently, when I changed, I've now broken that for myself, but it took 2 years to do that.
Sure.
So like I had so much time, and that's where I was getting known in the community. Like there was pro players I'd be in games with. Choco Taco, who he plays for TSM, he's one of the best PUBG players out there. We were in a game together and I was bodying people, and on his stream, he kept saying he saw my name and he goes, this is my competition. I got to kill this kid.
Yeah.
And like, we end up having the gunfight where he fucking destroyed my ass, but it was fun. You know what I'm saying? People from his chat came over and they're like, "Oh, good fight." But then like they were sending me clips of Taco like saying this stuff, and then him saying like, that shot was so filthy that kid probably thinks that I'm cheating. So when I went to spectate the shot, it was an unreal shot.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know, I knew who he was already.
Sure.
I probably would have suspected that. I knew who he was, and he's one of the most filthy players in
Chaco
that game.
is very good.
Very good. He still plays the game, which is crazy because no one plays the game anymore. But, he was, again, the levels thing, right? I know my role as a streamer, and I think that's something that a lot of people lack. Not everyone's going to be this competitive just monster where people tune into you because you're just really good or you're winning tournaments or whatever. I know I'm never going to be that person. So how do I get people to watch me instead of watching that person?
Sure.
Right. So for me, it was that game EverQuest, and it's not even close. EverQuest for me, when I was in high school, I was going through some rough times and shit in life. My boys were started playing. First MMO that I played, you had to pay a monthly subscription, which was kind of unheard of at that time.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult game. Still to this day, probably the most difficult MMO that I've ever played. And I got obsessed with it. And it was actually to an unhealthy point, only because I was running away from something in real life. You know what I mean? And in order for me to get away from that, it was like, okay, I leave school and I'm just going to play video games till my eyes fucking bleed, if that's what it is, And that carried over into World of Warcraft. And then after that, I had a serious like life thing happen, and my perspective on a lot of stuff changed. And I kind of stepped back from playing that much. I still played and put a lot of time in, especially with streaming, but like, bro, when I tell you I was playing like 12 to 16 hours a day, that was real. Like I was literally like either not working jobs, or once I graduated high school, I was working my jobs, but my job was split. So I'd work in the morning for a couple hours. I'd get a few hours off. I'd go back, work another couple hours, and then I'd be off the rest of the night. So what I would do is I'd get out of work at like 5 o'clock. I would play video games till 7 a.m. Go to work those couple hours, come home, go to sleep for 4, go back in for work, and then I would just do it all over again.
Sure.
And like I got very unhealthy at that point, and then like I ended up actually at that time getting back into like working out and martial arts and stuff like that. And that helped kind of break me away from some of that. Martial arts the second time. I obviously did martial arts when I was younger, but I got back into it.
So for Steve has no idea what EverQuest is, right? I assume.
I was
so
before I said it. I was like, so for the other game,
Right, so EverQuest is the game that everyone played before World of Warcraft, right? WoW came out as a killer to EverQuest, and it essentially did that. But the game
Completely
was
wiped it off the map.
so hard that only people who had that amount of time could succeed at EverQuest, and that's a lot of what people loved in MMOs. And early WoW was similar, but still not nearly as hard, right? Because it had a good UI, it had a good storytelling system. Where EverQuest has this awful UI, right? And it's no idea what's going on. They don't give you any information or where to go or what to be or what to do.
No maps, no quests. It was literally just killing mobs, but you couldn't kill mobs by yourself. That's how difficult the game was.
You had to have someone else.
To kill mobs, you had to be in a group of 5 people. So like you were constantly playing with the same people because you couldn't kill anything by yourself. And because the leveling system was slow because there was no quest or anything, you'd be in the same like zone or like instance or group for like weeks at a time. Like to hit max level in that game, like you're putting in months of actual gameplay.
Yeah, like legit time.
So is very unhealthy, I think, for anybody that played. And then that ends up transferring into WoW, which was so much more polished with a real like questing and storyline and a real raid system. And like, then for me, I'm like, it's like I relapsed almost, you know what I mean? Because it was like I backed off, and then it was like, oh my God, this new one comes out. And then like I went crazy is not even the word with WoW. Like WoW, my main character in WoW has over 400 days played.
Sure.
In game time, Steve. In game time. Like that's how much I played this game.
Steve has no concept. So like, Kasch, when me and you say we have 400 days played at a game, Steve's like, wow, man, you only played it for a year.
No.
Right? And it's like, no. That's the literal amount of time that we played at a game. I remember he asked me one time how much time I had played on my RuneScape character. Right? And I'm like, I don't know, dude, it's a 15-year-old character, and they only started tracking time X amount of years ago, and I have 1,700 hours on it since. Right? And it's no real concept of time of how much like you actually put in.
Steve, let's put it this way. I stopped playing the game the second expansion. So the original game came out.
06?
The first 06. The first expansion comes out. The next expansion comes out, and I'm done. We're like 8-9 expansions in right now.
This is number 8, I think, coming out. Shadowlands is 8, I think.
I think so. So within the span of like, what's 3 years, 4 years, essentially, I had 400 days played in the game. Yeah. So that should tell you how little I was working or sleeping. Like I was working for a school at that time. So like I was off for the summers. I was off weekends. I was off the holidays. I got spring break, winter break. So like my spring break fell in line with the first expansion when it came out. And I was off for a week and a half. And when I say I maybe slept 10 hours in those 10 days, that's real. And like I have friends that can attest to that because they were at my house playing with me the whole time. I literally lived on buffalo chicken pizza and energy drinks.
Hey man, that sounds like a good life, man. That sounds like a good life. Buffalo chicken pizza. That's amazing. So 06, right? Man, I took the other path in 06, right? There were 2 games in 06 that people played. It was World of Warcraft or RuneScape. Right. And I started playing RuneScape in 06 about, right? And that's when I had taken the other path. And you know, I don't regret the decision, but I always wanted to know what it was like to experience the first time you stepped foot into Molten Core, the first time you stepped foot into going into Onyxia, right? I always wanted to know what it was like for that. And that's why I'm playing so heavily now for when Shadowlands comes out, that I'll be able to experience something like that with the Shadowlands raids and dungeons and such.
Well, that was the crazy thing back then, was that everybody had to be on the same server. It was much harder to do that stuff. But when you were grinding so hard to be the first people because there was bragging rights, right? I would walk around with my epics and people would know I'm the shit. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what it was. I was world ranked at one point in that game. Like I put time into that game and for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like I won't even try to play the game again. I won't even try to play the game again. It's at that point. But back then you couldn't have told me shit. Like you couldn't get me off that game.
It's just so crazy, man, how different the culture of video games is like for you guys. But I can't say it's so different from our generation, because I remember my buddy would spend that much time with Final Fantasy all the games, every Final Fantasy game from Super Nintendo all the way up to
The same way.
PlayStation.
I played every
2
Final
and
Fantasy
3.
is my favorite series.
For the Street Fighter scene, the only person I can say that put that much time into it is my older brother. But it's a different type of slow burn, right? Like, so he was not a console player, even though he was filthy on console. Like the way I smoked Jonathan Hernandez that time at the school. Like, special shout out to Jonathan. You're just levels to this, right? So there's casuals and there's real players. But the way I smoked him in Street Fighter, my older brother has smoked me on console multiple times, like minimum effort. But where he really shined was on the arcade sticks, right? Like, he could go 2 a.m., catch a game, St. Mark's, beat every. So just imagine a scenario. Everyone's waiting to play for 25 cents. Everyone's good. And he smokes a whole line of kids. You know, and like, and he would put so much time in. But what you guys are describing, man, like the type of dedication it takes
to
put that, yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, because it was also one of those things that, like, there's almost no way to stack yourself against the other person without it being like a gear check, right? It was like, okay, well, I have this gear and you don't, but you didn't know about it unless you were doing it, and the only way you could do it is by investing all this time in it. Like, I was in a guild that had world firsts in that game. Like, that's how dedicated I was to it. But at the same time, like, a cost comes with that. You know what I mean? Like, you put that kind of time in, like, you're sacrificing a lot that you don't even realize. And at that point, video games it couldn't really be a profession at that point, but it could be now, you know. And there's a lot of kids that I think are going to end up going this route with, and, you know, because doors open, right? Like, think about just a few years ago, you couldn't watch a TV show on your phone or your iPad or whatever. Like, it's only going to get higher and higher, and the money's going to get better, and the stakes are going to get better, and, you know, it's going to turn into something, but it's not for everybody.
Sure.
It's funny because it's like, so a lot of people, myself included, when I first found out about Twitch, and this is prior to you guys, I thought it was just some type of voyeuristic experience, right? I thought, like, man, this is really sad. Like, why would you want to watch someone else play video games? Go buy the game yourself and play it. And you guys have kept pushing me, like, hey, just check out a couple of streams. And you know who got me in. You know who my first streamer was that I watched. And I was just like, man, I'm sold on this dude from now on. But it's amazing because it is an industry and it is a form of entertainment. But you're the second Twitch streamer we've had on the show. And I would say the same thing to you that I said to our first guest. Like, it's different when you have someone that actually can draw a following, right?
Sure.
Like, dedicated fans. Like, I've tuned into your stream a few times, and it's a community. Like, there are people actively in it. What's that like for you, building up a community for yourself, man?
It's sick because in my opinion, I'm doing it the right way, right? I think we live in a society where everybody is they're so fast to burn other people down, or specifically just do stuff for the clout, the shine, the likes. Like, I'm just being myself. And like, there's no gimmicks with me. Like, sometimes I play around and, you know, I talk some shit and whatever, but like, that's how I am in real life. You know what I mean? Like, if we're hanging out somewhere and we're just chopping it up, having a conversation, every once in a while, I'm gonna clown you. Like, that's you know what I mean? That's just how I am. And
you got me good today with that belt comment. You thought I didn't hear it, but I heard that.
So it's just one of those things that, like, I think for me, it's cool because I'm not trying to take anybody's place. Right. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to do my own thing, and people that ride with me, it's sick. Like, my community, I'm constantly Discord, Twitter, Snapchat, texting, even some of them, you know what I mean? Like, it's gotten to that point with some people. And I think for me, it's more gratifying because it's slow, but I'm not going out of my way to do something specifically to get noticed. I'm doing me. I would tweet the shit that I would normally tweet if I was a streamer or not. And, you know, I think for me, it's more about that connection, right? Like, how I can impact somebody else.
Do you ever think about, I know right now you're committed to where your community's at, and I'm sorry, Zach's helped me to understand it's not so much the platform, it's where people are, like where they're available to be reached out to. But let's say somewhere like, we've seen the demise of Mixer. Their last day was yesterday, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it was a very sad send off.
Yeah,
it was very anticlimactic.
Not what I thought.
There wasn't any fucking balloons or confetti. It was like, and click. Done.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all a mixer was.
Wait,
Yeah.
I don't even know if there were any streams leading up to the point. I think people were pretty much already.
I think they were gone.
They were
What
gone.
was
Once the announcement was made, I think before the announcement was made, the top guys knew.
absolutely
Shroud and Ninja knew what was up.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but they were the two that got special treatment, right? Not everybody got out of their contract. Not everybody got the double money. They got all of it. They got the money. They got the bag. They dip. They can do whatever they want now. But not everybody got that choice, and that's rough.
So when you see stuff like that, like given like the Twitch Security Council, you see how hard it is to get a community going on. Like Zach has famously said, it's hard to get people to click links, right? I'll put it on my tombstone now, like, because I know it firsthand. When you see stuff like that, do you ever think like, hey man, maybe I could build better on Facebook, or maybe I could build better on YouTube, or are you just like, no, Twitch is where I need to be right now?
I think for me, this is the way I look at it, and I'll explain my mindset behind it. You guys know me, so you probably understand it already, but like, I would rather, the way that I look at it is Twitch is an ocean. There are so many amazing creators. I mean, really, like from actual games to podcasting to talk shows to fitness to this, there are just so many amazing creators on Twitch. And when people talked about like moving and stuff like that, like I don't want to be a big or a medium-sized fish in a small pond, right? Like for me, and I think the reason I have that mentality is because I'm never one to back down from a challenge. If I get a challenge from something, like I'm going to take the harder road sometimes just to prove that I can do it, because I have that mindset. But at the same time, I'm also not tripping on if this doesn't work out for me. And some people, it's hard for them to think that way, but not everybody makes it. You know, like think about it in the music world or comedy or anything. Not everybody has what it takes to get there and stay there. For me, man, I think it's one of those things where it doesn't matter to me if I make it. I have a career where I make good money and I'm doing something that I enjoy and I work with people that I enjoy. I'm not pressed the way that some of these other people are pressed to get the clicks, to get the follows, to get this, to get that. None of that shit matters to me. I hit the go live button and I just do what I do. For me, I think given what we've seen, the only other viable place to go is YouTube.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't think there's shit out there.
Okay.
So
Cash subscribes to my weekly newsletter. he is echoing the same sentiment that I've had on many different topics here.
Though, man, look at it. I mean, Ninja and Shroud, as great as streamers as they were, when a game like Valorant came out, where Summit at some points had 300, 400,000 people watching him, Shroud couldn't crack 10K.
Yeah.
And it's not because Shroud's not great. We know Shroud's great, but it's one of these things where it's like, well, Twitch is doing the event, right? Oh, you can get the beta key from us. You can't do this on Mixer.
Right.
Twitch can do this, right? So then, okay, now I'm going to watch the person that streams the most. Well, Summit's good. He's popular. He's streaming for like 48 hours straight. I'm going to go chill in his chat. Then you get addicted to Summit because he's a great one of my favorite content creators, period, regardless of what he's playing. He's fantastic. You fall in love with somebody like that. And then a lot of people end up giving them money or, you know, whatever the case may be. But those opportunities aren't there for everybody. You know, and even that, very few people transition to YouTube and have the same success as a streamer. They may go on to make other content that competes, but streaming outside of like Courage and Valkyrie and like a couple other ones, they don't keep the same viewership because Twitch has that market, right? Oh, you can sub for free. Oh, you can get in-game loot because you sub for free. Oh, we're doing this event, come through for this. Oh, there's this tournament where 40 of your favorite streamers are all playing the same game against each other and there's a prize pool, and you know, nobody does stuff like that. Twitch is very much far ahead in those situations, but I think the only other one that even comes close is YouTube. And honestly, I know Zach has said YouTube will eventually, you know, probably be the biggest. That's hard to deny. You know, I think YouTube has
really,
you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can do on YouTube that isn't there, right? Like I could take my Twitch, I could take an entire broadcast, upload the entire thing up to YouTube, and YouTube's discoverability is so much better that I'll have more people watch a video of my stream than the feature where you could go to my Twitch and just go watch the video right off my Twitch channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People would rather go to YouTube to watch that because they can sub for free. They can,
Yeah.
all this other kind of stuff. But I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, and people don't even realize, man, we're quoting from the book of Zach right now, which is just disgusting to me. But you think about the market share of Android users, right? YouTube comes right on that phone. People don't even understand how well the search engine works from Google to YouTube. And you'll be in there like Flynn. Like once I started watching people's content, I don't even go to Twitch, no offense, except for you and Zach when you guys stream. I just go watch the VOD.
It's just Cash. I don't stream. I don't stream. We're taking that out. I'm such a bad streamer. I don't care,
YouTube, man, because it's like it's a better experience. I got to be honest with you to go watch it on there.
For a lot of people too, it's you get the polished version of it, right? Like Shroud could stream for 8 straight hours. They're gonna cut that down into a 20-minute highlight video with the flash and the flare. And you're gonna be like, bro, this guy he's the shit. You know what I mean? Like you have that availability. You can't do that on Twitch. So like there's pros and cons to both. And I honestly think depending on the type of creator you are, like your style, one benefits you more than the other.
Sure. So I mean, with that said, man, I've heard some rumors, from a golem of sort, a golem-like creature that I associate with, that you're going to be making kind of a little transition to YouTube here pretty soon. You got yourself an editor. Yeah. What's going on there, man?
I got to work smarter, right? Like I said, I can stream maybe 12 to 18 hours a week, which is less than what I used to do. So in order to give it the best possible option that I can, I have to change some things, and I think put myself out there more. I've been more active on Twitter. I've been more active, especially about gaming on Twitter, real life stuff as well, because I feel like people connect with you a lot more when you're talking genuinely from the heart about stuff that's actually going on. Yeah. I deleted Facebook because I was gonna kill somebody if I stayed on that.
Man, I just sent you a friend request.
Yeah, she's gone, buddy.
Make sure to follow Talking with the Dad on Facebook.
I think it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, I may not be the most savvy when it comes to this stuff, but it's like, hey, if I could do this stuff, pay this other kid some money, he gets to do something he loves, right? And that's kind of how I look at it, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm giving the kid an opportunity. Like, I don't want it to sound like that, but it's one of these things where it's like, my passion's the gaming and the streaming. His is the editing, right?
Sure.
So if I give him a little bit of money to make me a YouTube video, and then I can go and upload the YouTube video or use it for various things throughout my channel, like I plan on doing, I think it's just one of those things where we both kind of get the benefit. And at the same time, like as I continue to succeed and climb, I can kind of help elevate him at the same time. And for me, that's what I want. You know what I mean? Like I got homies, people that I met at Boston at PAX East and stuff like that. Like if I elevate, those kids are coming with me. You know what I'm saying? This isn't just about me. This is my whole team. Everybody gets, I'll contribute however I have to if I'm the biggest. If I turn out to be the biggest, I'm going to do whatever I can to make the people around me better. That's just the kind of person that I am. And that I think comes from martial arts and sports and stuff like that. It's just, that's always been my mindset when it comes to that stuff.
That's right. I mean, rising water does bring up every ship. Well, what do you got, Zach? I thought you were going to say something there. But,
I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to steal that quote that you just said, and I'm going to tweet that shit out. I don't want to hear shit from you.
Well, that's an old saying, man. Rising tides raise all ships.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So like, there's that with I've heard that a lot with the stock market. I pay a lot of attention to the stock market and have for a long time. Is the if we're in a stock market that's climbing, everything is going to go up. So that's super fair, and you better tweet that right now. And Steve gets credit. No, I mean I didn't have much to say.
That's an old guide adage right there.
No, I like it a lot. I think I've used it plenty of times. I have a lot of, I don't really have much to say to that. I think Cash is a good streamer, and that sentiment and mindset builds a community, and that's kind of what you need right off the rip, right?
I think that's what people are worried about, and Zach can attest to this because I know that he sees it. People come in like a fucking hurricane, and all these people just jump, and then some shit goes sideways, and everybody fucking bails.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've seen Twitch partners averaging 150 viewers to losing almost their entire platform overnight. Legitimately overnight. Because the shit that they were doing to get to where they were going wasn't cool. And then once it came out that that's what was going on, the wheels came off. And that happens to a lot more people than probably people ever find out about.
You would expect.
It happens to smaller creators all the time. You get a little bit, even a couple hundred people, like that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like the wheels could fall off of that at any time. Legitimately.
It's crazy. When we were climbing up to our 100 subscribers, I think Zach remembers this well.
Congrats,
right?
by the way.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. The one thing because I was handling that part, the growth of the channel and trying to get it out to people, but the one thing I was actively avoiding doing was doing the sub for sub.
Right.
You know, and like,
man, I thought Steve was doing it one time and I yelled at him. Man, I've been on the outside looking in on all this YouTube stuff. I mean, I think my first YouTube video is 2009, man. You know, I was fucking, how old was I? I was 13. Right. And
but how many of those subs, like, and this is, I say the same thing about Twitch, right? Because the follow community on Twitch is gigantic, right?
Huge.
But it never works for anybody.
Nope.
Right. It gets you the empty followers, but nobody comes to your stream, man. I see people legitimately 10 times more followers than I do, almost 10,000 followers. They got 3 viewers. And I mean, respect, you're doing your thing. Like, I'm not going to hate on it, but at the same time, like, I know some of those people and I know where they got those followers from. And it's like, what good is that actually doing you? Right. I look at my almost 900 followers on Twitch and whatever I'm not going to disclose my sub count and stuff, but like my subs and everything like that, that's one of those things that like I keep private for the most part, but it's one of those things that I did organically. I didn't ask. My friends in the beginning, I was like, yo, go check out my Twitch, like blah, blah, blah. But after those first like 25, 30 followers that were my real life friends that knew I was starting this, it's all been organic since then. It's been Twitter engagements and trying to get involved in more Twitch communities. And, I think a lot of people get this idea that this shit just happens overnight, right? You just put a little bit of time in and it just blows up, right? You got to put the time in, man. You got to work on your craft. You got to get better. And the only way you can do that is by doing it and doing it the right way.
Man, I'm trying to look at my followers here, and sorry to cut you off, Stevie. I have 2,600 followers on Twitch. This account that I'm on has been on Twitch since 2012, right? It's been on, we're celebrating 8 years this year on August 16th, I think is the day. And, on and off over the years. And when I first started streaming, it was a lot easier to get the viewers and the stuff, right? There was times where when Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2009, so let's say 2014, where me and Shane would be playing Modern Warfare 2 and I turn the stream on and I instantly bump up to the top person in the Modern Warfare 2 category, right? Whether that's 30, 40, 50 viewers. And that happened for a long time, and I've always shot myself in the foot with that. I never really took it seriously.
That's how I felt about WoW. I felt like if I was streaming when I was putting all that time into WoW and we were doing all this world stuff first, I wouldn't have a job right now.
Right.
I'd be in a mansion somewhere doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do.
You'd be soda popping Asmongold level, I'm sure. Right. Because
it's one of those things.
There were so many people in that game who couldn't have seen the stuff that you were seeing and would have tuned in just to see it. Right.
And no offense, probably don't have the personality or the mouth that I have.
Sure. No, that
especially
comes
when it comes to World of Warcraft players.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of the World of Warcraft players are kind of sour. I don't know if I want to say that, but they're nerds is a good one. They're not very entertaining people. But go ahead, buddy.
The first WoW player I ever met, and this is before I understood like what PC gaming was. I just thought this guy was like an isolationist. I'm like, hey man, listen, we should really get back to doing your treatment plan. That's how I treated him when he talked to me about this. But I remember him spending all of his money. This is 2008 on the computer to play WoW, and I was like, this is gonna be an epic event. And he invited me over. He's like, yo, I want you to come check it out. And when I remember first time I seen it on the screen, I was like, how much you pay for the computer? He's like, oh, 2,000. How much did this game cost? And I could not make the connection at the time, but now I get it. I understand why someone would invest that.
It's different. I know Zach's a little bit younger than us, so he probably never understood it like us, but
he's wet behind the ears.
I grew up in a time where the internet wasn't a thing. Right? Like when I was a kid, nobody had it.
Dark times, yeah.
Nobody had internet,
Dark
bro.
times,
When it wasn't until I was a teenager where like internet and gaming like really started. You either had like a Nintendo or a PlayStation, or you were outside playing, or you know what I mean? Like that's what it was. Now everything's on the internet. Everything's computer. Everything, like, you know what I mean? Like that's everything now. My nephew's 8 years old. Kid's got a laptop, a Switch, a PlayStation, an Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's got everything under the sun, and he plays on all of it. And then this kid's at my house playing Fortnite on his Switch, and I'm hearing him scream at people, calling them bots. And I'm like, bro, you are 8. Like, who are you talking to like that?
Yo, my
You know,
homegirl
like,
said her
that's-
son
right,
told
that's
somebody
the
to catch
culture now.
these hands. in
Yeah,
their
bro.
lobby.
I'll give you all the smoke. You want the smoke? I'll bring you all the smoke, bro.
Yeah. No, I.
That's the generation now. That's
very
the thing.
very fortunate. I grew up in a household with a computer. We had dial-up. It was as far back as I could remember. But you know, my dad at the time had to have a computer for work, so that's the only reason we ever had a computer. Other than that, we probably wouldn't have for the first amount of time that I could remember.
LAN parties were a huge thing when I was like when the Xbox, the first Xbox came out, and I didn't quite understand what it was then. But now, looking at it in retrospect, I'm like, man, these guys were doing some fun stuff. I wish I would have joined in on that. I got to make the sloppy segue, even though this makes Zach extremely crazy, because we're talking about content creation. We're talking about culture and content creation. But this is my favorite thing, right? If I had a YouTube channel by myself without someone to keep me grounded in reality, it would most certainly be about political discourse, and I'd be arguing with people all day long. So I usually just do that on my phone now. So I'm going to ask you about something that's prevalent in popular culture, modern culture, and even Twitch culture. What is your take on cancel culture?
I hate it. I don't stand for it. I can't stand that shit for real. Like, it's one of those things, man, where like, I don't understand how you don't really know me, right? So you're watching me on Twitch, do whatever, or you know me from Twitter, tweeting whatever, but you don't know the real me. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what I do outside of here. Sure. You don't know if and who I donate money to or what I do. You know what happens, right? Now, that being said, there are times that people need to be fucking canceled. Like, and don't get it fucked up. Like, there's some shit that's happened the last few weeks in the streaming community, in the YouTube community, all that shit. These motherfuckers gotta go. Sure. They gotta go. But if you're trying to burn somebody at the stake for something that they tweeted 6-7 years ago, now all of a sudden you want to make a problem. People make mistakes, man. And like, there's a difference between being a predator or assaulting somebody or something like that. Those people have to go. There's no room for those people in any kind of culture, in my opinion. You know, like, you can't. Yes, they've made mistakes, but like, it's a different kind of mistake. If I tweet some shit you don't agree with, you know, people trying to cancel Joe Rogan for jokes that he makes or whatever, or Dave Chappelle or this or that, right?
Son of a bitch.
Right. But like, understand that like, that's their job, man. Like, they don't necessarily believe what they're saying. They're saying because they know they're going to get a reaction from you, and their job is to get a fucking reaction from you. Yeah. You know, so like, for me, it's one of those things where like, you have to be able to decide what people need to actually be canceled for, if they're going to be canceled. And two, there's a way to go about it, right? If Steve says something I don't like and I'm saying, oh, we got to cancel Steve, I'm not going to hit Steve with this crazy, you know, kill yourself and all this crazy shit that people are saying on the internet. Like, you don't know, man. You don't know what people are going through, what they've been through, what's been said to them, how they've been treated. Like, you can't go about stuff like that. Me personally, if I don't agree with you, I'm not even going to say nothing to you. I'm just going to keep scrolling. I may block you if you're getting real fucking stupid on something that I posted, or you know what I mean? Like, that's it. I'm not going to try to go public and burn you at the stake. That's not me. But there's people out there, they'll try to do it because they think by bringing you down, they're elevating.
Sure.
Right.
And that's the dangerous part of all this content creation shit. You look at some of the biggest streamers in the world, they're still going crazy with each other, with Tfue and Ninja, and like these, like, they legitimately don't like each other. Tfue's taking shots. Tfue's taking shots at Ninja's wife. It's like, listen, bro, I understand you want to box and you want to do all this. There's lines. I'm gonna tell you something. I ever get big on Twitch and my wife's name ever comes out of on somebody's mouth, you're catching
real life consequences,
smoke, bro. Yeah, I'm coming to find you. I'm coming to find you. Like, there's real life, and then there's the internet bullshit, right? But you bring my family into it.
Yeah, there's a level of, I signed up for this, they didn't, right?
Right.
That's a line that you can't cross. There's a few lines that you can't cross, right? And old school people who watched like a lot of YouTube back in the day, like 2009, 2010, would know that back then a huge thing was people leaking Skype conversations. That's a line for me that I still do. I would never cross, right? If me and Steve were having a conversation and something went south in a conversation, we started arguing over a Discord conversation, that never gets screenshotted and never released publicly.
Right. So here's the thing with that, Zach. That's an old school mentality that not everybody has, right? When I was younger, if you did some shit like that, you were a punk and you were gonna get fucked up for that.
Yeah.
Like there was consequences for that. Like you're not just gonna speak on me like that or try to twist what I said out of
dirt
context.
on my name.
Bro, we're not playing that game.
Yeah.
If me and Steve right now are homies and Steve tells me, yo, I killed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, me and Steve get into a fight, no, I'm never sharing that with nobody because I'm a man. And what comes to me, that's pride, bro. And if someone's confiding in me, no matter how bad shit gets, that's not my place. Not everybody has that conscious in their head, though. Some people, they're going to use that shit against you the first chance they have to bring you down. Or when you, dude, and I've seen it on Twitch, people just start to pop and they're starting to hit that next level. And then all of a sudden, the dirt from every fucking angle comes in and they're just burning them to the ground. And it's like, why? That's why people with the Discord and the not stay out my DMs. Don't be like, I don't do that. If we're DMing, we're having a normal conversation. No lines are ever getting crossed to the point where like, unless we're us.
Right. Yeah. That's fair, right?
You gotta earn that from me.
I feel like we're all the same way, and we're all close enough to understand. Like, if we would have a conversation in Discord, that's confidential, right? Essentially,
like
right?
Losi, I've said some outlandish shit, but that's my bro,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, if somebody, and it's happened before, people have had smoke with him, I'm coming for all of you.
Sure.
That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, don't fuck with my team, I won't fuck with your team, and we keep it 100 with that. But it's not. It doesn't need to be that, bro. It's video games. Like if you don't like something, just mind your own fucking business. It's not hard. It's not hard.
That's
you don't have to comment on every little thing that you don't like. If I don't like something about something, listen, people say, Ninja, he's a very popular streamer. I don't like his content. I don't follow him on nothing. I don't watch him on nothing. He's just not for me.
Sure. There's
a lot of people like that. They aren't for me. They're streamers. They're for me. Cool. But I don't need to throw dirt on somebody else's name. I feel the same way about fighting. People get fucking crazy with this shit when they're trying to compare and go. Just because you feel someone's better, you don't need to throw dirt on somebody else's name to make somebody else look better. It just doesn't make sense to me. Just let them do their shit. Let them be alone. If they're fucking up that bad, it's eventually going to get to them. It doesn't need to be you.
So when people start super fanning, that's when I'm just like say take a Kobe or Cody, whatever this kid's name is. Like, he did that to himself, right? So you start espousing certain ideas, and those are going to be publicly refuted. I think my big thing with cancel culture is, and exactly like you guys said, I would never share a private conversation between us at the height of your career. There's actually a term for that in my neighborhood, and it's not just my neighborhood. It's called crab bucket, right? You ever seen crabs when they're in a bucket and one crab starts to make its way out the bucket and the other one start to pull him down? That's essentially what you're doing. You've weaponized some intimate knowledge, and then who knows what you're going to tell me on a personal basis. And it's like, so I mean, I'm obviously against, later in my life, I'm obviously against the no snitching culture, because I know where that leads to. Now I can see it. Back in the day, I couldn't see it. I'm like, yo, you're a freaking snitch. I'm gonna pop you in your mouth if you say something. Now I understand there's some real life consequences to that. I think the difference between that and like cancel culture, and I've gone about this in nauseum, is like what Pat said 4 years ago. He's allowed to change his mind.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something. Steve, I'm so glad that you said that, because we're all adults, right? Yeah. And I could say some shit that you guys don't agree with.
Right.
We don't have to get disrespectful. You could tell me you don't agree, and we're gonna move on, right? But there's people out there where if you don't agree with them, it's straight to the disrespect, and there's no line. And I'm gonna keep it real. We could talk, we could disagree, but the second you get disrespectful, we're not it's not a conversation anymore. I'm moving on. I'm just not going to engage with you anymore because there's no sense in me going back and forth with you anymore. There's no point. Why get disrespectful with somebody just because you have a difference in outlook?
Yeah. We had Zach's friend to the show, Desi Heat, on here a little while ago, right? And I asked her the same question. It's interesting to hear the answer from the perspective of a woman, because it's like there's so many things that you feel like you want to protect them from, right? You want to protect them from like toxic guys. Even though I don't believe in the concept of toxic masculinity, I believe in the concept of that there's some dudes that could just be straight up assholes
100%
to women. I just don't believe in blanket statements. But it's funny because when I asked her the same question, she had a very similar answer. She was just like, I just don't engage. And I think people forget that there's only two ways to deal with a bad idea. You either engage it and refute it, or you ignore it entirely. But the middle ground of like becoming entirely emotional is insane.
Right. Somebody that's going out of their way to do something like that, you're not going to get through to them. I don't care what you say to them. I don't care what you do. You're just never going to get through to them. So to me, and I have it on my Twitter now, like if you don't follow me, I'm not getting a notification if you interact with any of my shit. Yeah. Like I have filters on my Twitter, right? So I tweeted at a famous streamer. Shout out Classy from 100 Thieves. Shout out Avalanche from 100 Thieves. They both interacted with me. They're cool cats. I like both of them. Content's fantastic. Love their Twitter game. They're two of the best followers on Twitter. But all the people that were going crazy in the comments after I said it or said whatever I said and they interacted with me, I didn't get notifications for any of that shit unless you were following my channel. Okay. Unless we've interacted before or unless if I follow you. For me, so many more people just need to do that, man. Why that aren't contributing anything to your craft? I can take any kind of constructive criticism as long as it's not presented ignorantly.
Sure.
Right.
If you don't know me, if you don't know the situation, if you don't know everything, don't come for me. Yeah. Don't come for me because I'm not gonna pay you no mind.
Sure. I think we've had conversations like that. I think I've come to Kasch with things that I thought he could do for his stream or that would be helpful, and we've definitely had those conversations back and forth both ways.
But how do you get better? Right? How do you get better if no one's telling you?
Right. I agree.
You have to have that relationship with people where you can have that conversation and nobody's feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's so sensitive that they're like, I get it to an extent. There's stuff you should be sensitive about, and there is stuff that you should 100% be actively working against in today's culture. But some shit I said on Twitter or a video, unless if I'm harming somebody or, you know, getting real out of pocket, you don't got to come for me like that. It doesn't do anybody any good.
See what you guys are talking about is a revolutionary idea, right? Where you just kind of like suck it up a little bit, right? So like we could talk about this now. Me and Zach, working at the school when all three of us were working together, have had exactly 3 hard interactions with each other at the school. Like 3 interactions where I was like,
I remember 2 vividly.
2 vividly, and one where I thought I was just gonna roundhouse kick you. And then like
that third one, I think I remember what you're talking about. My sugar was severely low for that, so I vaguely remember the conversation, but I also don't.
But the thing is, like, so the conversation happens, and it's just like, all right, so then we move on because I learned his boundaries, he learned my boundaries, and then even after that, the boundaries started getting pushed in a healthy direction, right? So then there's another instance where it's like, I've learned from people where it's the thought of forgiveness, right? So you guys know what I did in the past, like who the demographic I worked with. So I've worked with people who have used the N-word before, right? In their lifetime, they have used the N-word actively and have been bona fide Nazis or skinheads or Mexican gangbangers, whatever, what have you. Does that mean that when they came into my, into my care, by the terms of cancel culture, I should have never even given them a chance, right? They should have just been done with. But instead, do I give this kid a chance to go like, hey man, you can be different. You can do something different. And like one of them reached out to me today. And every time this kid reaches out to me, I'm like, man, to think about where he came from to where he's at now. Shout out to you. I'm not going to blow your name up. You're following the channel, but to see where he was at. And this wasn't a little pretender. This was a kid that was bona fide, like with the business. And like to see where he's at now, it's like, who am I to say he can't change? And that's my big thing with it.
But I think, Steve, that's it's a level of understanding that not everybody has, right? Like, and in my opinion, that's what makes you who you are. And like I kind of, when I was talking before about like, if I go somewhere, I want to elevate everybody else with me. It's one of those things where it's not, it's a mindset thing, man. Like if you look back on it, these other people that are canceling people, sitting behind their computer, doing whatever they do, I don't know what they do in real life, right?
Right.
But I can say most of them probably don't have the type of understanding where they could make an impact in somebody's life like you did and change everything. True. Right? Like I was getting into some wild shit when I was younger. You know, I was talking about it earlier, how I was going through some stuff in my teenage years. I was getting into some dark places that I probably shouldn't have been at, you know, in my early 20s. And it took one of my boys to grab me and be like, bro, like you got to settle down. And like, you know, it was a tough conversation. There were tears. There were times that I wanted to hit this dude. Lies sound so good sometimes, and the truth hurts. The truth hurts, but you got to hear it, you know. And the people that are really riding for you, they're gonna tell you the truth. They're gonna try to make you better. People that are gonna sit there and they come to you and they want to talk. I come to you all the time when I have to vent and I'm going fucking crazy and my mindset's going to a place where it's like, yo, I'm gonna put my fucking hands on somebody. I go talk to Steve and Steve's like, all right, listen, little bro, like we got it. You know what I mean? Like we got to take it down a couple notches. You know what I mean? But like, I trust him with that. Not everybody has that, but like, I look back at times and people that I've had conversations with privately or, you know, whatever, or given job opportunities to or whatever, but maybe they weren't necessarily the right candidate or whatever the case was. It was one of those things where it's like, I'm trying to improve somebody's life that isn't necessarily in a situation where they have the type of understanding that I have right now. And if this person is closer to me, I can do that and I can impact somebody around me. And who knows what that person's going to do with their second chance or third chance or whatever, however many chances it takes. People do change. Yeah. And eventually some of those people go on to do great things.
Amazing things. It's interesting though, because I think that's another thing that I've learned from watching you guys who, like, you guys were content creators well before I even thought about doing this, but you give someone an avenue, right? You give someone an avenue to do something, and it's like, oh man, if this guy can do it, if Zach is doing this, if Pat is doing it, you know, if Cash is doing this, this is something that I can do, and it changes your mind, man. And that's why I like to get people on the record on it. It's funny, my older brother said to me, he's like, why do you guys talk about cancel culture so much, you and Zach, on the show? And I'm like, because
I still haven't figured it out.
I'm like, it's something that we like, you pick up on and you go, hey man, this is something that whether you be left or right, people can agree that you got to leave room for forgiveness. So, you know,
and I think that's the truth though. But you know, it's one of those things that it's so prominent in the culture right now. It's hard to ignore. You know what I mean? Like if you're in touch with what's going on with streaming and YouTube and all that, you know what's going on right now. And there's a lot of not so good things going on right now. There's some ugly shit going on.
We did an entire episode on it.
Right. Yeah. And I tuned into a lot of that actually and listened to a bunch of it. And I'll be honest with you, like there's people, like I said, that deserve to be canceled and have their platform taken away. But we can't just take people's livelihoods away for dumb shit. You know, you just disagree with me or whatever. Yeah. You know, and this is probably a touchy subject, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Alinity, who she's a very
there we go.
Right. So,
last episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. So I'm just going to keep it brief with her, right?
Go for it.
She did some shit that was not cool. Everybody knows the shit that she did. Not cool. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google her name. It's gonna be the first shit that pops up.
Well, second stuff probably, but yeah.
Right. So for me, she gets death threats, bro.
Yeah.
When all this stuff went on with Doc, people were mailing her, telling her to kill herself, all this crazy shit.
Man.
For what, dog? Like, I get what she did was fucked up.
Wait, which one is Alinity? Is that the one that was suspected of having the affair? Oh, the cat one.
No, yeah, so... Yeah, no, absolutely. There's the cat lady, and she's someone with her dog too, potentially. I think Cash might be going the same direction that I'm.
So she threw a cat. She yeeted a cat.
Yeah, yeeted it, full on yeeted a cat.
Cat jumps up on the keyboard. She grabs the cat under the belly, tosses it up over her chair like that. Not cool, right? She fed one of her cats vodka. Obviously not cool because that can kill the animal.
Yeah.
When all this happened, pet control was called. went to her house. It's all there. This facts. Obviously not cool. She was doing something on her stream. Her shirt and her bra came up. Bare boob was on stream. She got banned for it. However many days that they do for.
I think it was a 3-day ban.
3-day ban or whatever.
Accidental nudity.
First time nudity, whatever the case is, right? But does that mean she needs to die? Like think about the shit you're saying to people, bro. Like that's for me, like where cancel culture gets way too crazy. Like people getting canceled, people are going after their parents. Like there was a girl I saw on Twitter. She has an OnlyFans, which if you don't know what that is, don't Google that.
Put a private browser on. Control-Shift N on Chrome if you wanted.
So whatever, but like somebody disagreed with what she was saying, subbed to her OnlyFans, took her pictures and sent them to her parents, bro.
Oof.
Like what the fuck are we doing? Like that is way past like anything even close to trying to resolve or fix the situation. Like you're going out of your way to try to ruin someone's life, and that's that line that just it gets crossed way too much.
Yeah, there's a fairly famous now interview with Alinity. Have you seen this?
Yeah, bro. And honestly, like, listen,
that changed my perspective entirely of who Alinity was.
I wasn't with the shit that she did, and she got in trouble for what she did.
Wait, she yeeted the cat onto the bed though for context.
No, floor. Now, let's be fair.
Okay.
That cat has probably taken more jumps that are 100%. Farther than that in its lifetime, right? I know I have
jump
cats,
off refrigerators and all kinds of
I've seen my cats do some crazy shit. But I would also then again never throw my cat. Like my bed's right here. I've thrown my cat onto my bed, but like it's literally an arm's length away and it's the same height as the desk goes on, right? I would never throw my cat straight to the floor. But then I see this interview of her talking to this guy. Man, I wish I remember who this guy was because his content's very interesting. He's a psychiatrist. He's a psychiatrist. Yes.
He was having live streams with Reckful before Reckful committed suicide.
That was sad.
Live on stream, you know what I'm saying? But he's another one, bro. Good heart. He was trying to be a beacon for a lot of people with mental health issues. Again, all documented. He was doing live streams on Twitch with a licensed psychiatrist.
Yeah.
You talk about putting yourself out there, and there's still people telling him, bro, you should kill yourself.
Yeah.
All the time. And then he did it.
Yeah, the poor guy took his life.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that is... I can't even put into words how crazy that is to me. People are too comfortable saying whatever the fuck they want to say on the internet because there's no real life repercussions for it.
It's funny you say that. I can't remember if it was Ben Shapiro or someone else, but they were talking about the advent of the internet and how at first, when you talk about like the original old school chat forums, like AOL forums, and even some of those, like those were for isolationists. Like the only people at the time were people who normally couldn't have a normal conversation person to person. They were okay with being catfished, like by someone who more than likely was not the person pretending to be. And so that has spider webbed into the entire growth of it. Well, but you're right. People aren't accountable for it. I'm not going to shout this dude out because honestly, if he ever caught wind of it and he said something on Twitter, I'd box him in the street. But it won't take too much for you to figure it out. When the whole Dr. Disrespect cheating on his wife thing happened, right? There was one female streamer. Now, I'm years removed from this, but there's one female content creator that got blamed for that. And she wasn't even.
She had nothing to do with it. She had nothing to do with it.
She had nothing to do with it.
Who was it? I don't even know. I was around, so like obviously,
that was a Keemstar special.
I hate, dude. I've hated Keemstar for years, man.
Keemstar put this girl on blast. She got death threats. She got all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah. It's the same person that.
And then
the
she was like, right? She was like, I've never even met the guy. Yeah. I couldn't tell you. Like, She barely knew who he was.
But look at that. Like you put this jacket on her. She can never live that down. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's the problem. Accusation. That's the problem with platforms.
Yeah.
Right. When you get these crazy followings, I could spew some shit that could ruin somebody's life. And if people start to agree with me, it does ruin someone's life.
Yeah.
You know? Because she caught it again when Doc got banned. People were all over her, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she was like, "We've been through this already. Like, like keep me the fuck out of this." Like, and you know, people that knew, But there was a lot of people that are new to Twitch over the last 2-3 years that had no idea that this even happened.
Yeah, and it's the same people who would say, like, I saw someone diss Donald Trump for making up fake news, then jump on the same bandwagon like, I guarantee this is the chick that Doc is sleeping with again. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't make this type of stuff up.
Yeah.
Bro, for me, if I ever get big, you talk some shit to me like that, it's smoke. Like, there won't be conversation. It'll be like, hey, you want to be like the rest of these dudes? You want to get locked in a fucking cage with me and say that shit to my face? If not, don't talk to me. If you're not willing to fight me over it, just stop.
Yeah.
Nick Merckx famously said, get that man on the phone today, not tomorrow. I don't want to speak to his agent. I don't want to speak to his lawyer. Hey, you get
Yeah, that's a really, really good quote, and in a very interesting situation with the whole 100 Thieves thing.
Shout out to Nick Merckx, though. Just crossed 70K subs, man. That kid's doing it big right now.
70K subs, dude. The guy's making money.
Crushing it.
Good for him.
It's a vacuum. Where do you want to go with this thing now, Zach? I know my segue was sloppy, man.
So you're setting me up for a really bad segue, right? And honestly, we're probably gonna start making our way out of here fairly shortly because we could go on forever, right?
I could talk all fucking night.
It's the three of us, and we've done this when we all work together. We would have 8-hour conversations throughout the entire day. Where do you think growing a platform becomes too much? Right. How much do you have to put yourself out there before you become, let's not say a sellout, because I love when people make their money, but when you become a shadow of yourself, or when you become a shell of yourself that you aren't, KingKasch anymore, you're, I don't know what it would be, but right. Emperor Cash. Yeah.
I think for me, man, I don't know if that day will ever come. Not because I don't think I have what it takes, because I don't think I will let it get to that point. Mm-hmm. I think what happened to me when I was younger, I lost my dad at a very young age. I went through some deep, dark shit with the rest of my family. And like, that grounds me. I don't have an ego anymore. I used to have a really bad ego. I grew up in martial arts. I used to fuck everybody up. I mean, I would be traveling state to state every weekend. First place. I'm coming home with gold medals, boxes. I got boxes in my house of gold medals that I haven't looked at in 20 years. You know what I mean? So when I was younger, you couldn't tell me shit. You just couldn't. For me now, I don't think any of that's ever going to get to me because I don't think I'm that kind of person anymore. I don't think I'm the kind of person where clicks and views and followers are ever going to get to my head to the point where I lose myself, right? And sure. I think having a son amplified that tenfold, right? Because now everything that I do is there forever.
Sure.
If I fuck up, all it takes is a 30-second clip. Yeah. And now my perspective is, well, is that what I would want my son to do?
Okay.
Right? And I try to keep that mindset. But if a gaming company came to me today and offered me millions and I got to put a clown suit on and jump around in front of a camera, it's going to be hard to say no, So I think,
can rest assured we'd be right there with you.
It's just one of those things, man, that I think and I think it happens to a lot of people is they get so popular and so rich, so famous in this bubble. And now it's starting to cross over.
Right.
Yeah.
Professional athletes. Max Holloway today, gaming with Nick Merckx and Tim the Tap Man and all these dudes playing COD all day. Those lines get blurred, right? But I'm going to tell you something. One of those guys says the wrong shit to Max.
He's killing them.
He'd kill all of them and have gas left over. Yeah, for sure.
So, I think for me, man, it's cool that gaming is getting to the elevation that it's getting to, but there are a lot of dangerous things that come with this. We talk about TwitchCon. There was a girl this year who was drugged. Her drink was drugged. She spent days in the hospital. Like, precautions need to start being taken because some shit is getting very out of control and there's nobody policing it the right way.
Sure.
And, it's a very tricky path, but I think for me, my community will always keep me grounded. Because the people that don't fit with my vision, they're not coming with me.
Sure.
It's just what it is.
That's
Hold on,
And I would expect if I ever get crazy to you motherfuckers to grab me and be like, yo, bro, you're wilding out. You got to chill.
I would
You know what I'm
100%
saying?
do
Like,
it. I have no issue with that.
But I have
Wait,
people like that. Not
Sure.
everybody has
am I the
people like
paid friend? If I'm the paid friend, I'm not saying anything. I'm like, no, man, you just keep going, man.
See, I'm not a yes man. I'm not a yes man. Me and Steve have had many conversations about
Right.
some stuff similar to that over the channel for
I'm
sure.
blessed, man. I mean, my best friend, best man at my wedding, like he's said some rough shit to me. But I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I didn't hear it. You know what I mean? So like for me, it's one of those things that like if I start to stray off the path, it's who you keep, the company you keep. If you keep enablers around you, you're gonna fall into traps and you're gonna get fucked up. If you surround yourself with people that are gonna keep it real with you, you'll be all right. You know, Losi he's another one. He'll hit me up. Hey man, I see this. Maybe this isn't what you want to do. And we've had those conversations and I'm like, you know what, bro? You're right. But you have to be able to talk, respect each other, grow from it, and move on.
That's a good point.
Super agreeable.
Let me ask you a question. This I gotta ask because you put me on to this guy. What happened to Doc, man? What happened to Doc? I'm not letting him off the show without getting his 2 cents on this whole thing, man. Like, greatest to ever do it, man.
I mean, so here's the thing with Doc, right? Everybody knows how popular Doc was. He transcended character play when it came to on the fly. Like this dude was the shit. You know, like what he brought, the level of production, pure content, character, the way he stayed in character. It's not easy to do what he was doing. The funniest shit though, side thing, real quick, is he role plays that character. That's not him, right? We all understand.
I had this conversation with Steve on the podcast maybe 3-4 episodes ago.
Right. So it's not him.
Yeah.
He's talking about, oh, I want to get into Grand Theft Auto role play. And people are like, Doc, you can't role play. You've never done some shit like that. And he's like, have you ever watched one of my fucking streams, bro? Like, this is all I do. This is all I do. My whole persona is role play. Like, I don't know.
I seem to be muted here for a second. It was very strange. It might just be me. Is it just me?
No, Pat was muted.
I hear
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll give my opinion on what happened to Doc. Doc somehow found an out of his contract, maybe a loophole, maybe something else, and he had another offer on the table that he'd rather do.
Nope.
You don't think so?
No. I think Doc is about to be in a world of hurt.
I don't disagree.
I think listen, man, if it was just Twitch, I'd be like, okay, maybe he slimed him, took his millions, and he's on his way out, right?
Yeah.
The theory about them trying to save money, they just paid Logic millions.
They just paid Logic
And he's-
millions.
Millions. It ain't the money. It's not throw the money shit all the way out, right? Whatever he did is, I think, really bad. And I think someone has something over him that's why this is happening, right? And the reason why I feel that way, Twitch permanently bans him. He's obviously one of the most famous streamers on the planet.
Sure.
Discord takes his partnership away. G Fuel takes him off all their branding. Granted, he went to Game Fuel, he signed a contract with them, but his exclusive flavors, Doc was still all over the can, all over that other stuff, right?
I have a Doc shaker somewhere.
Right. All that shit got removed. Then reports are coming out that he's done with streaming and what he did was serious. By Sacriel, sorry.
Sacriel's wife.
Sacriel's wife, who used to work for Twitch.
And is still an insider on the same level, more so than Slasher. Yes.
Correct. She tweeted briefly after that what she was told, Doc's done with everything.
Done.
He's done. No streaming site will have him. Right? Like that's pretty much what she tweeted out. Deleted it after because people were coming for her for, stirring the pot and not spilling any info. Same kind of thing with Slasher. Slasher was like, hey, I know what it is, but I don't feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
Now, that means two things to me. Either one, it's tied up in litigation, and if he says anything, they're coming with everything for him.
Lawsuits. Yeah.
Or two, it's that bad that he doesn't want to talk about it. And due to the timing and all the sexual harassment shit that was coming out, it's hard not to think that direction. Now, I don't know Doc personally. I don't know what, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what it could have been. Could have been anything. I've heard theories from he's working with the Russian government to, I've heard that. I've heard him stealing charity money for charity streams that he did, all the way to him just breaching his contract and just not wanting to stream anymore, which I find that's obviously not true, right? When you're making millions of dollars to just play video games, you're not just going to throw that away after you sign a multi-million-dollar deal 3 months prior, right?
Sure.
It's eventually going to come out. And when it does, I don't think Doc will be around anymore. I think Doc's going to take his money, his wife, his kids, his cars. I think he's out. I think he goes somewhere where he's just never going to be bothered. He'll change the way he looks a little bit. People, you know, the casual person won't know him. And whatever happens, he won't even be here to defend it, to dispute it. I think Twitter goes. I think everything goes. And I think he just rides off into the sunset and just leaves everything away.
So here's the only thing, right? I am almost sure it's not a sexual allegation of any sort, because they would have released that. Given the current climate, to repress it legally, like they can release the claim like, hey, this is why this happened. Now,
but they never have. That's the issue with Twitch.
Never has.
Twitch has never come out when they've banned somebody.
What about that one guy who publicly got banned for a sexual allegation?
He admitted it first.
Oh, he admitted it. Okay.
Yeah, so there's been a few people recently banned. A few, they're mostly League and Smash players.
Right.
Honestly,
Smash community got torn the fuck apart a few weeks ago, and I mean like from the top, like the top, like 6 of the most famous Smash people are
top down. League too. League has had that same thing happen.
League had some issues too, but the reason I don't feel that way is because Twitch has never commented on a reason why anyone's been banned unless they admitted to it first. So the sexual harassment people that came out, they tweeted, hey, I fucked up. I didn't, heat of the moment, whatever their excuse was for whatever happened. Unacceptable, obviously. They got their platform taken away from them, but Twitch didn't leak it.
Right.
The accused, the accusee confessed, and then Twitch banned him. There was no conversation from Twitch with any of that. The only way, if it is anything sexual allegations, the only way we ever find out about it would be if the accuser comes out and says this is what happened,
or his wife potentially,
or his wife, or somebody.
That's the other component. I don't think she's gonna stay. So her forgiving her spouse for cheating, that's a feat in itself.
100%.
Sexual allegations. So we know historically there have been women who've stayed with monsters. We've seen it, right? We've seen that before. But this is something entirely different. I don't think I don't even know his wife's real name. I just call him Mrs. Assassin. Yeah. I don't think that she's sticking around.
That's meant to be like that, I think.
But I don't know. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if she knows. Who knows what? Who knows what's been seen? What's been said? You're
married, man. There's no way. Listen,
I don't know, dude.
Santana's not taken from me. Oh, yeah, so Twitch is not telling me what's going on.
But you got a couple M's in your bank account, shit changes. You know what I'm saying? There's some shit that, and I don't know her. I can't speak on her character, but I personally know girls and guys that stay in relationships for beneficial, whether it's financial, whether it's whatever. Yeah. I know people in shitty relationships that are only there because they're benefiting. Either way, some people they're more about that. They'd rather the security and they just deal with what it is. Look at how many famous basketball players and sports players and whatever, they've all been through shit. It happens, but who knows, man? I'm leaning more towards whatever happened. He's going to lose a lot. And I'm not talking monetarily. I think there's going to be some outrage and some people are really going to turn on him. And I think right now there's a lot of damage control being done before any of this shit comes out.
So that would make sense. That's why he hasn't just started streaming on YouTube.
YouTube won't happen either. People were talking about YouTube won't sign him.
No, I know they won't sign him, but he can still go on his own channel and stream.
Right. But most of these big streamers are getting guaranteed contracts. And if someone's saying, I'm not going to ban you from the platform, but we're not going to endorse you either, something's up.
Yeah.
Something's up. And it's not, to me, it can't just be a breach of contract or something like that.
Sure.
There's, if these sponsors and all this, they're taking his face off stuff, to me, historically, any other time that that's happened, at least in sports, that person has some criminal charges brought up against them. And those people don't want to be with them anymore for what that ride may or may not be.
The only person I can think that that's not true is Tiger Woods.
He lost a lot.
He lost a lot, but he was never criminally charged, from what I understand. Right. He was just unfaithful to his wife on every occasion that he possibly could be. But there was never something so heinous that it was like, oh man, that guy should be in jail.
Right. But you could, I mean, I don't condone it, obviously, but if someone cheats on their wife and they make a mistake, you don't know their relationship. You don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't condone it at all, but at the end of the day, not everybody has my mindset. People do what people do.
Entanglements, man. Entanglements.
So we get on entanglements, dog. But it's one of those things that like, I don't know. I don't know.
No one knows
where the line got drawn, but whatever it was, I don't think it was cool. I think something fucked up happened.
You know who benefits from this? John Jones, man. Every time someone else messes up, John Jones looks so good, man. I know he's sitting in his mansion like, thank God for Saddam Hussein.
You should have said. I mean, I thought you were gonna say Shroud, because Shroud's gonna make out.
He's gonna kill it, man. It absolutely going to kill it wherever
he disappeared for a month. You think that shit's by accident?
He's still gone, right?
He's still gone. He hasn't tweeted.
Hasn't done anything.
He popped up
in a big announcement, but he never made it because
made it.
That was a troll, dude. That was such a fucking troll. Come on.
He popped up in Summit's chat one day, and everybody started going fucking crazy.
He's been playing Tarkov clean nearly every day.
He's not
no, and I've heard Shroud talk a lot. I probably heard Shroud talk more when he's playing with clean than I have when he was on fucking Mixer. I didn't give a shit about Mixer.
I'm with you there.
But man, I think we could probably wrap it up here. Cash, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a fantastic conversation. You definitely have an open door invite. Anytime you want to come back on, you're definitely free to.
Can I ask you guys one question?
Dude, you can ask us as many as you want.
But I like this question a lot. I recently tweeted it out, and I really enjoyed people's answers. I'm not going to give mine.
Okay.
But dead or alive, you're going to sit down in a room with a bunch of people, 5 people. Oh. You could pick any 5 people ever to sit down and chop it up with. Who are you picking? Who's in your room?
Go ahead,
Steve. Oh man, it's one person for me. I wish I could have another conversation with my grandfather. Oof. That's it. Okay. Passed away very recently. That's probably the one. I don't give a fuck about the other 4. That's probably the one person. Okay. One more conversation.
Fair.
That's it.
I think for me, well, there's one historical figure, obviously, like that. Because of my beliefs, I don't have to wait. I'll just have to wait until I die to have the conversation with him. But I would probably have.
Right, Steve's a big Genghis Khan fan.
There it is. I would probably want to have a conversation with Malcolm X. I would want to have a conversation with the famous reformer Martin Luther.
That's a good one, actually. That's a really good one.
Conversation with MLK, and then I would probably have. I have a couple of friends that have passed away, but if we're just talking historical figures, I would definitely throw in there. And you're gonna laugh at this one. I would throw in there Bruce Lee. And then
I'm not gonna laugh.
I'm not gonna laugh at that. No, I can accept that.
And then I would definitely throw in there Jimi Hendrix. The reason I would want Malcolm
Hendrix is a good one.
I'll tell you about why him, but the reason I would want Malcolm, Martin, and Luther, I would want to ask each one of them, do you regret anything that you've ever said publicly? Because we're talking about like 3 prestigious men, and each one of them has done something in their life that is amazing, but they've said something that has marred their legacy, and that's what people remember them, or done something, and I'm like, could you have done it differently? And with Jimi Hendrix, man, I just would have wanted to know, like, did you know beforehand, like when everyone was telling you you were crazy for playing the guitar upside down, when everyone was telling you were an Uncle Tom playing those shows in Harlem because you played rock and stuff like that, did you know that you were going to be as big? And I think the question I would probably have for Bruce Lee is like, probably very similar. Like, did you know? Like,
He's the most famous martial artist of all time.
like he had to have known something that no one else has known. And that the historical figure I'm talking about is obviously, you know, I'm a follower of Jesus, and like I know that one day I will be in front of him and I'll get to ask every question I've ever wanted to ask, and then you know, I won't have, you know, that'd be it. But if I die and you guys start asking me questions and I'm dead, I'm like, please don't call this number again. Hey, Zach, why don't you tell the people where Cash, why don't you tell the people where they can find you, man?
Yeah, please.
Hey, you can find me at twitch.tv /KingKasch, KASCH. Twitter, KingKasch22. Like I said before, constantly tweet about fights every Saturday night, since we get a fight card every Saturday night now.
Mm-hmm.
Every Saturday I'm tweeting about the fights. I'm live on Twitch a few nights a week, playing games, chopping it up, talking just kind of how I'm doing now while playing games instead of just sitting here talking.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Everyone can find us everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our website, all Talking with a Dad. Find us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Just type Talking with a Dad, all one word. It's spelled as it sounds. If you can't fucking spell it, find somewhere else to listen. And that's it, guys.
Oh no, please stay. Don't leave. Don't leave. I'll do anything to get to 125 subscribers.
That's a wrap, folks.